When Selena Vale checked her phone at the company Christmas dinner and saw her husband's location ping from another woman's apartment, she didn't cry. She didn't make a scene. She just sat there in a red dress, surrounded by laughter and champagne, realizing her entire marriage had been a performance she'd been giving alone. But across the table, someone had been watching her all along, a man who built empires in the shadows and never made the mistake of looking away from what he wanted. What happens when the woman everyone underestimated finally stops playing safe? Stay with me until the end of this story, hit that like button, and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this journey travels. The ballroom of the Sinclair Grand Hotel glittered like something out of a dream that cost too much and delivered too little. Selena Vale had been to enough of these corporate Christmas dinners to know the routine by heart. Forced small talk, mediocre prime rib, speeches that ran too long, and the unspoken competition over who wore what and who showed up with whom. She sat at table 7, third seat from the left, her red dress chosen specifically because it photographed well and didn't wrinkle easily. The fabric was expensive, but not flashy. Her jewelry was understated. Her makeup was perfect. Everything about her appearance had been calculated to communicate one simple message: I belong here. But the chair beside her was empty. Again. Still not here? Jennifer from marketing leaned over, her voice pitched at that frequency that was supposed to sound sympathetic, but mostly just sounded nosy. I'm sure Marcus got held up with something important. Selena smiled the smile she'd practiced in mirrors since she was 16. I'm sure he did. She reached for her water glass and took a sip she didn't need, anything to have something to do with her hands. Across the table, David from finance was telling some story about a golf trip that involved too much tequila and a missing rental car. People were laughing. The woman next to him, his wife, Angela, had her hand resting on his forearm, a casual touch that spoke of years of comfort and familiarity. Selena watched them and felt something twist in her chest. Her phone buzzed in her clutch. She knew what it would say before she even looked. There was a formula to Marcus's excuses by now, a template he barely bothered to customize anymore. Baby, so sorry. Client emergency. This deal is huge. You know how it is? I'll make it up to you. Promise. She stared at the message for a long moment, then set the phone face down on the table. Her jaw ached from smiling. Everything okay? The voice came from her left, low and precise. Selena turned and met the eyes of Damian Orloff. Her boss rarely attended these functions. When he did, he usually stayed for exactly 1 hour, made the necessary appearances, and left without fanfare. He ran Orlov Industries with the kind of efficiency that made competitors nervous and investors wealthy. In the 3 years Selena had worked as his executive assistant, she'd learned to anticipate his needs before he voiced them, to read his moods from the smallest shift in posture, to translate his clipped instructions into action items that got results. She was good at her job, exceptional even. It was the one area of her life where she felt genuinely competent, but she'd never sat next to him at a dinner before. She'd never had his full attention turned on her like this, dark eyes seeing too much. I'm fine, she said. Just, Marcus is running late. He's not coming. It wasn't a question. Selena's smile faltered. He said, He's not coming, Damian repeated, cutting through her excuse with surgical precision. He hasn't come to the last 3 company events either. At some point, we stop calling it running late and start calling it what it is. Heat crawled up Selena's neck. She wanted to argue, to defend Marcus, to insist that he was working hard, building his career, that sacrifices were necessary. But the words stuck in her throat because Damian was right, and they both knew it. I'm sorry, she said quietly. This isn't appropriate dinner conversation. Probably not. Damian leaned back in his chair, his posture relaxed but his focus unwavering. But neither is watching someone pretend everything's fine when it clearly isn't. Before Selena could respond, the lights dimmed. The CEO of Orlov Industries took the stage, some senior vice president whose name she always forgot, and launched into the annual year-in-review speech. Numbers flashed on screens, people applauded at the right moments. Selena sat in the semi-darkness and tried to focus on anything except the empty chair beside her and the uncomfortable accuracy of Damian's observation. Her phone buzzed again. She shouldn't look. She knew she shouldn't. but her hand moved on its own, lifting the phone just enough to see the screen. Not a message this time. A notification. Marcus shared his location with you. Selena frowned. They'd set up location sharing months ago, back when she was working late often, and he claimed to worry about her safety. She'd honestly forgotten it was still active. She tapped the notification and watched the map load. Her husband was not at his office. He was not stuck in traffic. He was 15 minutes away, at an address she didn't recognize. Her fingers moved across the screen, pulling up the street view. A sleek apartment building, new construction, floor-to-ceiling windows and a doorman in a crisp uniform. She zoomed in, then opened a new tab and searched the address combined with the unit number shown on the location pin. The listing popped up immediately. A 2-bedroom condo, recently sold. The buyer's name was listed in the public records. Vanessa Chen. Selena knew that name. Marcus had mentioned her before. A colleague, he'd said. Someone on his team. They'd worked late together on several projects. He'd shown Selena a group photo once from a team dinner. Vanessa had been standing close to Marcus, laughing at something, her hand on his shoulder. "Just a work thing," he'd said when Selena asked. "You know how it is?" The speech ended. Applause erupted around her, sudden and jarring. Selena set her phone down carefully, precisely, as if it were made of something fragile that might shatter if she moved too quickly. Her hands were steady. That was the strange part. She'd imagined this moment before, in the dark hours of early morning when sleep wouldn't come and anxiety filled the empty spaces. She'd imagined crying, screaming, throwing things. She'd imagined confrontation and drama and the hot rush of righteous anger, but now that the moment was actually here, she felt cold, detached, like she was watching herself from somewhere far away. "Selena." Damien's voice cut through the noise. She turned to look at him and found him watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "I need some air," she said. Her voice sounded normal, controlled. "Excuse me." She stood, smoothing down her dress, and walked toward the exit. Her heels clicked against the marble floor with metronomic precision. Left, right, left, right. She didn't rush. She didn't stumble. She simply walked, threading through tables of laughing coworkers, past the bar where someone was telling a joke that had people doubled over, through the heavy doors that led to the hotel's outdoor terrace. The December air hit her like a slap. She'd left her coat inside, but she didn't care. The cold felt clarifying, real. She gripped the stone railing and stared out at the city lights spread below, trying to organize the chaos in her head into something manageable. Her husband was with another woman, right now. While she sat alone at a Christmas dinner, making excuses for him to people who probably already knew the truth. How long had it been going on? Weeks? Months? The late nights suddenly made sense, the business trips, the way he'd grown distant, distracted, like she was background noise in his own life. She told herself it was stress, that his career was demanding, that she needed to be supportive and understanding. She told herself a lot of things. "You'll freeze out here." Selena didn't turn around. She heard the soft sound of fabric, and then Damien's suit jacket settled over her shoulders, heavy and warm and smelling faintly of expensive cologne. "I'm fine," she said automatically. "You keep saying that." Damien moved to stand beside her at the railing, his shirt sleeves rolled to his elbows despite the cold. "It's not convincing. What do you want me to say?" The words came out sharper than she intended. "That my husband is cheating on me? That I just figured it out in the middle of a corporate dinner? That I'm standing here trying to decide whether to call him or just pretend I don't know?" Damien was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was careful. "You could leave." "The dinner?" "The marriage." Selena laughed, a brittle sound that didn't match the tightness in her chest. "Just like that? Walk away from 4 years because of a location pin on my phone? Has it only been happening tonight?" She closed her eyes. "No." "Then it's not because of a location pin. It's because you finally have proof of something you've known for a while." He was right. She hated that he was right. The signs had been there for months. The emotional distance, the lack of intimacy, the way Marcus looked through her instead of at her. She'd just been too afraid to acknowledge what it meant. "I don't know how to do this," she admitted quietly. "You don't have to do it tonight." Damien's tone was practical, almost clinical. "You don't have to do anything right now except breathe and get through the next few hours. Tomorrow you can figure out next steps. Next week you can make decisions. But tonight you just survive it." Selena turned to look at him. Why are you helping me? Because you're the best assistant I've ever had, and I don't want to lose you to something like this. He paused. And because watching him disrespect you has been bothering me for longer than I care to admit. There was something in the way he said it that made Selena's breath catch. An edge of anger that wasn't directed at her. A protective instinct that felt out of place coming from her boss, but somehow completely genuine. I should go back inside, she said. People will notice. Let them notice. But Damien stepped back, giving her space. Or come back in when you're ready. I'll tell anyone who asks that you took a call. Thank you. He nodded once, then headed toward the door. Halfway there, he stopped and looked back. Selena? Yes? Whatever you decide to do, about Marcus, about any of it, you have options. Remember that. You're not trapped. Then he was gone, leaving her alone on the terrace with his jacket around her shoulders and a phone full of evidence that her marriage was over. Selena did go back inside eventually. She sat through the rest of the dinner with a smile plastered on her face, making small talk and laughing at jokes she didn't hear. When people asked about Marcus, she offered the same vague excuse about work emergencies. No one pressed. Maybe they knew. Maybe they'd known for a while and had simply been too polite or too uncomfortable to say anything. She didn't check her phone again. She didn't need to. When the dinner finally ended, she declined the offer of shared rides and ordered her own car. The drive home took 23 minutes. She spent them staring out the window, watching the city blur past, trying to figure out what she was supposed to feel. Anger, probably. Hurt. Betrayal. But all she felt was tired. The house was dark when she arrived. Marcus still wasn't home. She kicked off her heels in the entryway, hung Damien's jacket carefully on the coat rack. She'd return it Monday, and walked upstairs to the bedroom they'd shared for 4 years. Everything looked the same, the king-sized bed with its gray duvet, the matching nightstands, the framed photo from their wedding day. Both of them smiling like they knew something the rest of the world didn't. Selena picked up the frame and studied her younger self. She'd been 24. So sure she'd figured it out. So convinced that Marcus was the safe choice, the right choice, the kind of man who would build a stable life with her. She'd been wrong about a lot of things. She set the frame face down on the dresser. Then she changed into pajamas, washed her face, and climbed into bed. She didn't text Marcus, didn't call. Just lay there in the dark, waiting to see if he'd bother coming home at all. He didn't. Somewhere around 2 in the morning, her phone buzzed with a message. Staying at the office tonight, don't wait up. Selena stared at the words until they blurred together. Then she deleted the message, set her phone on the nightstand, and closed her eyes. She didn't cry. She'd save that for later. He dumped. Monday morning arrived with the kind of gray, listless weather that matched Selena's mood. She dressed carefully, navy suit, white blouse, sensible heels, and drove to Orloff Industries with the radio off and her thoughts locked down tight. She had work to do, reports to file, meetings to schedule, a professional reputation to maintain. She could fall apart on her own time. Damien's office was on the 42nd floor, corner suite, with windows that overlooked the entire city. Selena had her own desk just outside, a position that put her at the center of everything that mattered in the company. She arrived early, as always, and started her morning routine, coffee brewing, emails sorted, calendar reviewed. Damien arrived at 7:30, precisely on time. "Good morning," she said, handing him his coffee. Black, no sugar, and the day's priority briefing. He took both, but his eyes stayed on her face. "How are you?" "I'm fine." "Selena." She met his gaze. "I'm here. I'm functional, and I'm ready to work. That's all that matters right now." For a moment she thought he might push. But then he nodded and walked into his office, leaving the door open behind him. An invitation if she needed it. She didn't. She spent the morning answering emails, coordinating a conference call with investors in Singapore, and reviewing contracts for a new acquisition. Work was safe. Work made sense. Work had rules and structures and outcomes she could control, unlike everything else in her life. At noon, her phone rang. Marcus. She let it go to voicemail. He called again at 1. Then at 2:30. Each time she watched the screen light up and chose silence. By 4 o'clock, the voicemails had started piling up. "Babe, where are you? Why aren't you picking up?" "I don't know what's going on, But we need to talk. You're being ridiculous. Call me back. The progression from confusion to irritation to anger was almost predictable. Selena listened to each message once, then deleted it. She was filing the last report of the day when Damien appeared in her doorway. "Come with me," he said. "Where?" "Somewhere you can actually breathe for 5 minutes." She should have said no. Should have insisted she was fine, that she had work to finish, that she needed to maintain professional boundaries. But she was so tired of pretending, and Damien was looking at her like he could see straight through every careful wall she'd built. So she saved her work, grabbed her coat, and followed him. They took his private elevator down to the parking garage, where his car, a sleek black sedan that probably cost more than Selena made in a year, was waiting. He opened the passenger door for her, waited until she was settled, then slid into the driver's seat. "Where are we going?" she asked as he pulled out of the garage. "Nowhere important." He navigated through downtown traffic with easy confidence. "Just away from there for a bit." They drove in silence for 20 minutes, leaving the business district behind for quieter neighborhoods with tree-lined streets and historic brownstones. Finally, Damien pulled up in front of a small Italian restaurant tucked between a bookstore and a florist. "I'm not really hungry," Selena said. "Then don't eat. But you're going to sit down somewhere that isn't your desk or your house and take 30 minutes to exist as a human being instead of a professional robot." He cut the engine. "Consider it a direct order from your boss if that makes it easier." Despite everything, Selena almost smiled. "You're very pushy." "I'm effective. There's a difference." The restaurant was warm and dimly lit, with red check tablecloths and the smell of garlic and fresh bread hanging in the air. Damien spoke to the hostess in rapid Italian. Selena hadn't known he spoke Italian, and they were led to a corner booth away from the handful of other diners. "You come here often?" Selena asked, sliding into the booth. "When I need to think." Damien sat across from her. "It's quiet. The owner doesn't ask questions, and the food is good enough that you forget about everything else for a while." A waiter appeared with water and menus. Damien ordered something Selena didn't catch, waving away her attempt to look at the menu. "Trust me," he said when the waiter left. "I don't have much choice, do I?" "You always have a choice, that's the point." The food arrived faster than seemed possible. Plates of pasta, fresh bread, a simple salad. Selena picked at it half-heartedly, but Damien was right about the quality. The flavors were bright and genuine, the kind of cooking that came from actual skill rather than pretension. "Have you talked to him?" Damien asked after a while. Selena shook her head. "He's been calling. I haven't answered." "What are you going to do?" "I don't know." She set down her fork. "I keep thinking I should feel more. Angrier, more hurt, something. But mostly I just feel numb. That's shock. It'll wear off. And then what? Then you'll be angry and hurt, and you'll have to decide what to do with all of that." Selena looked up at him. "You sound like you've been through this before." "Not personally." Damien's expression was carefully neutral. "But I've watched enough people navigate betrayal to know how it works. The question is what kind of person you want to be on the other side of it." "What do you mean?" "Some people let it break them. They shrink. They start questioning everything about themselves, wondering what they did wrong, how they could have prevented it. They give the person who hurt them all the power." He paused. "Other people use it as fuel. They take the anger and the hurt, and they build something better. They come out stronger." "Which kind are you?" "The second kind. Always." There was steel in his voice now. "I don't give people the satisfaction of breaking me, and I don't forget who showed me their true colors when it mattered." Selena studied him across the table. She'd worked for Damien for 3 years, but she realized she didn't actually know that much about him. He kept his personal life locked down tight. No wife, no girlfriend that anyone knew about, no social media presence, just work and the kind of ruthless competence that made Orlov Industries one of the most successful companies in the city. There were rumors, of course, whispers about where his money really came from, about connections that ran deeper than legitimate business deals. Selena had heard them and promptly ignored them. She didn't care where Damien's wealth originated. She cared that he paid well, treated her with respect, and never wasted her time. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "You can ask. I might not answer." "Why do you care? About what happens to me, I mean. I'm just your assistant." Damien was quiet for a long moment, his dark eyes fixed on her with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. "You're not just anything, Selena," he said finally. You're smart. You're capable. You work harder than half the executives I employ, and you do it without needing credit or validation. You see patterns other people miss. You solve problems before they become crises, and you do all of it while dealing with a husband who clearly doesn't appreciate what he has. He leaned forward slightly. So when you ask why I care, the answer is simple. Because I notice things. I notice when someone valuable is being wasted, and I don't like waste. The air between them felt charged somehow, heavy with something Selina couldn't quite name. She should probably look away. Should probably change the subject. Should probably remember that this was her boss and she was married, technically. And there were lines that shouldn't be crossed. But she didn't look away. I don't know what I'm doing, she admitted quietly. You're surviving. That's enough for today. Damien sat back. Tomorrow you can start planning. Next week you can start executing. But today? Today you're just a woman having dinner with someone who gives a damn whether she drowns or swims. That's it. Selina felt something crack inside her chest. Not breaking, just opening, like a door she'd kept locked for too long finally giving way. Thank you, she said. Don't thank me yet. Damien's smile was slight but genuine. You haven't seen my plan. Your plan? For getting you out of this mess intact. But we'll talk about that later. For now, just eat. You look like you haven't had a real meal in days. He wasn't wrong. Selina picked up her fork and actually tasted the food this time, let herself exist in the moment without planning or worrying or trying to control every variable. It felt strange, uncomfortable, but also somehow like relief. They stayed at the restaurant for another hour, talking about nothing important, books, travel, the absurdity of corporate holiday parties. Damien had opinions on everything, delivered with the kind of dry wit that caught Selina off guard and made her laugh despite herself. It was the first time she'd laughed in weeks. When they finally left, the sun had set and the temperature had dropped. Damien drove her back to the office parking garage where her car was waiting. Are you going to be okay tonight? He asked before she got out. I'll manage. If you need anything, he pulled a business card from his pocket and scribbled something on the back. That's my personal number, not the office line. If Marcus shows up and things get complicated, or if you just need to talk to someone who isn't invested in pretending everything's fine, call me. Selina took the card, her fingers brushing his for just a moment. Why are you really doing this? Damien held her gaze. Because someone should, and because I'm tired of watching good people settle for less than they deserve. There was more he wasn't saying. Selina could feel it in the weight of his words, the careful distance he maintained even while offering help. But she didn't push. Not tonight. Good night, Damien. Good night, Selina. She drove home slowly, taking the long route, delaying the inevitable. The house was lit up when she arrived, every window glowing, Marcus's car in the driveway. He was home. Selina sat in her car for a full minute, staring at the house she'd thought would be her forever home, trying to summon the courage to walk through the door and face whatever came next. Finally, she got out. Marcus met her in the entryway, still wearing his work clothes, his expression somewhere between angry and worried. Where the hell have you been? He demanded. I've been calling you all day. I was working. Selina set her purse on the entry table. Then I had dinner. With who? Does it matter? Yes, it matters. You've been ignoring my calls, disappearing for hours. Like you disappeared on Friday night? The words came out calm and cold. When you were supposed to be at the company dinner with me, but were actually at Vanessa Chen's apartment. Marcus went very still. What are you talking about? I know, Marcus. Selina met his eyes. Your location sharing is still on. I saw exactly where you were. I looked up the address. I know who lives there, so please don't insult me by pretending you don't understand. For a moment, he just stared at her. Then his face shifted, running through several expressions before landing on defensive anger. So what, you're spying on me now? Tracking my location like some kind of psycho? You shared it with me, remember? For safety, you said. That was for emergencies, not for you to... How long? Selina interrupted. How long have you been sleeping with her? I'm not... He stopped, started again. It's not what you think. Then what is it? Marcus ran a hand through his hair, a gesture she'd seen 1,000 times when he was stressed or trying to think his way out of something. It's complicated. Then uncomplicate it. Vanessa and I, we work together. We've been spending a lot of time together. Things just happened. Things just happened. Selena repeated the words slowly, tasting the inadequacy of them. Is that really the best you can do? I don't know what you want me to say. I want you to tell me the truth. Her voice rose for the first time. I want you to stop making excuses and just admit that you've been lying to me for months, that you've been building a whole separate life with another woman while I sat at home pretending everything was fine. I want you to at least respect me enough to be honest. Fine. You want honesty? Marcus's jaw tightened. I care about her. I've cared about her for a while. And yes, I should have told you sooner, but I didn't know how. I didn't want to hurt you. So you just kept lying instead. I was trying to figure things out. No. Selena shook her head. You were trying to have it both ways. You wanted her and the life she offered while keeping me as... what? Backup? The safe option? It's not like that. Then what is it like, Marcus? Explain it to me. Make it make sense. He couldn't. She could see it in his face, the realization that there was no good explanation, no way to frame this that didn't make him the villain. I think I should stay somewhere else tonight, he said finally. Actually, I think you should stay somewhere else permanently. Selena's voice was steady now, certain. I want a divorce. The word hung in the air between them, solid and final. Selena, I'm not interested in fighting about this. I'm not interested in hearing why it wasn't your fault or how we can work through it. I'm just done. She pulled off her wedding ring and set it on the entry table next to her purse. You can have your lawyer contact mine. I'll sleep in the guest room tonight. Tomorrow I'll start looking for my own place. You're being rash. No, I'm being clear. There's a difference. Marcus stared at her like he was seeing someone he didn't recognize. Maybe he was. Maybe Selena didn't recognize herself either. This woman who could stand here and calmly dismantle 4 years of marriage without crying or begging or trying to negotiate. But Damien was right. She had choices. And she was choosing herself. Fine, Marcus said after a long moment. If that's what you want, it's what I need. He grabbed his keys and his coat, paused at the door. I really didn't mean to hurt you. But you did it anyway. That's what matters. Then he was gone, and Selena was alone in the house that no longer felt like home. She should have felt devastated, should have collapsed on the floor and sobbed, should have questioned everything. Instead, she walked upstairs, changed into comfortable clothes, and called Damien's personal number. He answered on the second ring. Selena? I told him I want a divorce, she said without preamble. How do you feel? I don't know yet. Ask me tomorrow. Fair enough. She could hear the faint sound of traffic in the background, like he was driving somewhere. Do you need anything tonight? No, I just wanted to tell someone who wouldn't try to talk me out of it. I wouldn't dream of it. There was approval in his voice. You made the right choice. How do you know? Because you're still standing, that's how I know. Selena smiled, despite everything. I should let you go. I'm sure you have better things to do than field calls from your assistant's personal drama. Actually, this is the most interesting thing that's happened all day. But yes, get some sleep. Tomorrow we'll start planning your next move. Damien? Yes? Thank you for not treating me like I'm broken. You're not broken, Selena. You're just finally seeing clearly. There's a difference. After they hung up, Selena stood in her bedroom, soon to be former bedroom, and looked around at the life she was about to leave behind. The safe life. The expected life. The one that looked good on paper but felt empty in practice. She didn't know what came next, but for the first time in years she felt like she was moving towards something instead of just holding on. And that was enough. The guest room mattress was harder than Selena remembered. She lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling and listening to the house settle around her. Every creak and groan felt amplified in the silence. She'd lived here for 3 years, but tonight it felt like sleeping in a stranger's home. Her phone sat on the nightstand, screen dark. No calls from Marcus. No apologies or desperate attempts at reconciliation. Just silence, which somehow felt worse than anything he could have said. She must have slept eventually because her alarm woke her at 6. Muscle memory took over. Shower, coffee, the same navy suit she'd worn yesterday because she hadn't thought to grab clothes from the master bedroom. She looked at herself in the bathroom mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. Same face, same body. But something fundamental had shifted overnight. The drive to work felt mechanical. Traffic patterns she'd navigated 1,000 times. The same exit, the same parking garage. But when she stepped off the elevator onto the 42nd floor, Damien was already there, leaning against her desk with 2 cups of coffee. "You're early," she said. "So are you." He handed her one of the cups. "I figured you wouldn't have eaten breakfast." He was right. She hadn't. Selena took the coffee and a brown paper bag he produced from somewhere, finding a croissant inside that was still warm. "You didn't have to do this," she said. "I know." Damien walked toward his office, then paused at the door. "Clear my 11 o'clock. We have somewhere to be." "Where?" "You'll see." He disappeared inside before she could ask more questions. Selena sat at her desk, ate the croissant, and pulled up his calendar. The 11 o'clock was a standing meeting with the finance team, important but not urgent. She rescheduled it for Thursday and sent out the notifications, then dove into her morning routine. Emails, reports, a contract review that needed her notes before the legal team could proceed. Work was easy. Work made sense. Her personal phone buzzed around 9:30. Marcus. "We need to talk about the house and the accounts. Can we meet for lunch?" Selena stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back, "Have your lawyer contact mine." 3 dots appeared immediately, disappeared, appeared again. "You're really doing this? Over one mistake?" Her jaw tightened. She could feel the anger finally arriving, hot and sharp in her chest. One mistake, like it was a forgotten anniversary or a missed dinner reservation. Like he hadn't been building an entire secret life while she played the role of supportive wife. She didn't respond, just set the phone face down and got back to work. At 10:45, Damien emerged from his office with his coat on. "Ready?" he asked. "You still haven't told me where we're going." "I will in the car. Come on." Selena grabbed her coat and followed him to the elevator. They rode down in silence, but it wasn't uncomfortable. Damien had a way of making silence feel intentional rather than awkward, like he was giving her space to exist without demanding conversation. His car was waiting in its usual spot. She slid into the passenger seat and waited while he navigated out of the garage and into downtown traffic. "We're going to see someone," he said finally. "A lawyer. One of the best divorce attorneys in the city." Selena turned to look at him. "I haven't even started looking yet." "I know. That's why I did it for you." Damien kept his eyes on the road. "Her name is Patricia Voss. She's handled some of the messiest divorces you've never heard about because she's that good at keeping things quiet. She owes me a favor, so she's agreed to see you today as a consultation. No obligation, just information." "Damien, you need someone in your corner who actually knows what they're doing. Marcus is going to lawyer up fast, and when he does, you want to be ready." He glanced at her briefly. "Trust me on this." Selena should have been annoyed at the presumption, should have insisted she could handle her own divorce. But the truth was, she had no idea where to start, and the thought of navigating the legal system while also trying to hold her life together felt overwhelming. "Okay," she said quietly. "Thank you." The law office was in a high-rise downtown, all glass and steel and the kind of understated elegance that screamed expensive. Patricia Voss met them in a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. She was maybe 50, with silver hair cut in a sharp bob, and the kind of handshake that communicated competence without trying. "Damien," she said warmly, "it's been too long." "Patricia?" Damien gestured to Selena. "This is Selena Vale, the one I told you about." "Mrs. Vale." Patricia's smile was professional, but not unkind. "Please sit. Can I get you anything? Coffee? Water?" "I'm fine, thank you." They settled around the conference table. Damien sat beside Selena, close enough that she could feel the solid weight of his presence, but not so close that it felt intrusive. Patricia pulled out a legal pad and a pen. "So, Damien gave me the basics. 4-year marriage, infidelity. You want out. Tell me the rest." Selena took a breath and started talking. The whole story spilled out: the Christmas dinner, the location pin, the apartment, Vanessa Chen, Marcus's pathetic excuse about things just happening, the conversation last night where she'd asked for a divorce. Patricia took notes in quick, efficient shorthand, occasionally asking clarifying questions. How long had the affair been going on? Were there shared assets, children? What was the financial situation? No kids, Selena explained. Thank whatever forces governed the universe for that small mercy. The house was in both their names, joint checking account, some retirement savings. Nothing too complicated, or so she thought. It's never as simple as it looks on paper, Patricia said when Selena finished, especially if your husband decides to fight. Does he have reason to think he can contest the divorce? What do you mean? I mean, is there anything he could use against you? Anything that could muddy the waters or make you look unreliable? Selena frowned. Like what? Affairs of your own, financial impropriety, anything that could be twisted into a narrative where you're not the victim. No, nothing like that. I've been, she almost said faithful, but the word stuck in her throat. I've been exactly what I was supposed to be. The perfect wife, the supportive partner. Until Friday night, I thought we were fine. Patricia nodded slowly. That works in your favor. Clean record, clear infidelity on his part. Most judges will see this for what it is. She tapped her pen against the legal pad. But we need to move fast. File first. Control the narrative. I can have papers drawn up by end of week if you're ready. End of week? Selena's head spun. That's really fast. Fast is good. Fast means you're serious. It means you're not going to let him dictate the terms or drag this out while he figures out how to protect his assets. Patricia leaned forward. I know this feels overwhelming, but the longer you wait, the more time he has to prepare. And men like your husband, successful, image-conscious, caught red-handed, they tend to get vicious when backed into a corner. Selena looked at Damien. He met her gaze with steady confidence. She's right, he said quietly. I've seen it happen too many times. The person who moves first usually comes out ahead. Okay. Selena turned back to Patricia. What do I need to do? They spent the next hour going through details, financials, property, timeline. Patricia explained the process in clear, practical terms. No legal jargon, no condescension, just facts and options. By the time they finished, Selena's head was full of terms like equitable distribution and marital assets and discovery. Patricia handed her a folder full of documents to review and sign, along with a retainer agreement. I'll be honest with you, Mrs. Vale, Patricia said as they stood to leave. This won't be fun. Divorce never is. But you have a strong case, and more importantly, you have clarity. A lot of my clients come in here still trying to save marriages that died years ago. You're not doing that. You're facing reality and moving forward. That's going to make this process a hell of a lot easier. Thank you, Selena said. I think. Patricia smiled. Call me once you've reviewed everything. We'll get started. In the elevator ride down, Selena felt like she'd just run a marathon. Her brain was trying to process everything Patricia had said, all the steps and procedures and potential complications. You okay? Damien asked. I don't know. Ask me in a week. She looked at him. How do you know her? Patricia, I mean. You said she owed you a favor. I helped her with something a few years ago. A client of hers was being threatened by her ex-husband. Serious threats. The kind that required unconventional solutions. What kind of solutions? Damien's expression didn't change. The kind that made the threat stop permanently. There was something in the way he said it that made Selena's stomach tighten. She'd heard the rumors about Damien Orloff, about connections to things that weren't quite legal, about influence that extended beyond boardrooms and quarterly reports. She'd always dismissed them as jealous gossip from competitors. But standing here in the elevator with him, seeing the absolute certainty in his eyes, she wondered if maybe the rumors weren't entirely wrong. I don't think I want to know the details, she said finally. Probably not. Damien hit the button for the parking garage. But the important thing is that Patricia is the best, and she's on your side now. That's what matters. They drove back to the office in silence. Selena stared out the window and tried not to think about the life she was systematically dismantling. The house would have to be sold. The shared accounts divided. 4 years of accumulated stuff sorted into his and hers like they were roommates who'd decided to go their separate ways. Her phone buzzed. Another message from Marcus. Can we please just talk? I know I messed up, but we can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can work through it. Don't throw away everything we built. Selena read it twice, waiting to feel something. Temptation, maybe. Or doubt. The urge to give him another chance because that's what you were supposed to do when you loved someone. But she didn't feel any of that. She just felt tired. "There's nothing to work through," she typed back. "You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. Please respect that and let this be civil." His response came almost immediately. "Civil? You're destroying our marriage and you want me to be civil about it?" Selena put the phone away without answering. Damien glanced at her but didn't comment. Back at the office, she buried herself in work. Reports, emails, a presentation that needed formatting for tomorrow's board meeting. She worked through lunch, ignoring the messages that kept appearing on her personal phone. Marcus was spiraling now, vacillating between apologetic and angry, like he couldn't decide which approach would work better. Around 3 o'clock, her desk phone rang. The receptionist downstairs. "Mrs. Vale? There's someone here to see you. A Vanessa Chen? She says it's important." Selena's grip tightened on the phone. "Tell her I'm not available." "I tried. She's being insistent." Of course she was. Selena closed her eyes and counted to 5. "I'll be right down." She stood, smoothed down her skirt, and walked to Damien's office. He was on a call, but he looked up when she appeared in the doorway. She mouthed 5 minutes and he nodded, already ending the call. "What's wrong?" he asked as soon as he hung up. "Marcus's mistress is downstairs demanding to see me." Damien's expression went very cold. "Do you want me to handle it?" "No, I need to do this myself." Selena straightened her shoulders. "But maybe, could you just be there, in case it gets complicated?" "Of course." They took the elevator down together. Selena could feel her heart pounding, but her hands were steady. She'd faced down hostile clients and impossible deadlines. She could handle one woman who'd helped wreck her marriage. Vanessa Chen was waiting in the lobby, dressed in expensive business casual and looking nervous. She was younger than Selena had expected, maybe 26, 27, pretty in an understated way, the kind of woman who probably got underestimated constantly and used it to her advantage. "Mrs. Vale?" Vanessa said when Selena approached. "Thank you for seeing me." "I'm not seeing you. I'm asking you to leave." Selena kept her voice level. "This is my workplace. You have no business being here." "I know. I'm sorry. But I needed to talk to you and you wouldn't answer Marcus's calls, so I thought..." "You thought you'd ambush me at work?" Selena felt the anger rising now, hot and sharp. "You thought that was appropriate?" "I just wanted to explain..." "Explain what? That you've been sleeping with my husband?" "I'm aware." "That you apparently care so little about boundaries that you'd show up at my office?" "Also now aware." Selena took a step closer. "So, unless you have something genuinely important to say, I suggest you leave before I call security." Vanessa's jaw tightened. "I'm pregnant." The words hit like a physical blow. Selena heard them, processed them, felt the ground tilt slightly under her feet, but she didn't let it show on her face. Didn't let this woman see her crack. "Congratulations," she said flatly. "That's between you and Marcus. It has nothing to do with me." "It has everything to do with you. He's still married. He has responsibilities." Then he should have thought about that before he started an affair. Selena's voice was ice now. "You want to have his baby? Fine. You want him to leave his wife and play house with you? Apparently you already got your wish. But don't come to me expecting sympathy or understanding. You made your choices. Now live with them." "You're making this so much harder than it needs to be." "I'm making it hard?" Selena laughed, a sharp sound with no humor in it. "You slept with a married man. You're carrying his child. And somehow I'm the one making things difficult? If you would just agree to the divorce without all the lawyers and fighting..." "Oh, I'm agreeing to the divorce. Trust me on that. But I'm not agreeing to get screwed over in the process just to make your life easier." Selena felt Damien move slightly closer behind her, a silent support. "You want Marcus? You can have him. But you'll have all of him, including the man who lies to the people he claims to love and abandons his responsibilities when they get inconvenient. Good luck with that." Vanessa's face flushed red. "You don't know him like I do." "You're right. I knew the version of him that promised forever and meant until something better comes along. You get to know the version that cheats on his wife while she's waiting for him at company dinners. I wonder which one of us is luckier." "This isn't fair." "Fair?" Selena's control finally snapped. "You want to talk about fair? I spent 4 years building a life with someone who was apparently just killing time until you showed up. I sat alone at Christmas parties making excuses for him while he was in your bed. I believed him when he said he was working late and investing in our future. So forgive me if I don't particularly care what you think is fair." Vanessa opened her mouth, then closed it. For a moment she just stood there, and Selena saw something flicker across her face. Doubt, maybe. Or the first real understanding of what she'd actually gotten herself into. "I should go," Vanessa said quietly. "Yes, you should." Vanessa turned toward the door, then looked back. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I know that doesn't mean much, but I am." "You're right," Selena said. "It doesn't mean much." Then Vanessa was gone, disappearing through the revolving doors and into the afternoon traffic. Selena stood there in the lobby, breathing carefully, waiting for the adrenaline to fade. "Well handled," Damien said softly. Selena turned to look at him. "I almost lost it." "But you didn't. You stayed controlled, professional. You didn't give her anything she could use against you." He studied her face. "Though I'm guessing the pregnancy was news." "Yeah." Selena felt something twist in her chest. "Yeah, that was new information." "Does it change anything?" "No, maybe it should, but it doesn't." She pressed her fingers to her temples, feeling the beginning of a headache. "I just want this over with. I want to move on with my life and stop dealing with the wreckage of a marriage that was clearly dead months ago." "Then that's what we'll do." Damien gestured toward the elevator. "Come on, let's get you back upstairs before someone starts asking questions." They rode up in silence. Selena's mind was spinning, trying to process everything. Marcus was going to be a father, with someone else. The life they'd vaguely talked about, someday maybe, when the timing was right, he was building with Vanessa instead. It should have hurt more than it did. Back at her desk, Selena tried to focus on work, but her concentration was shot. She kept seeing Vanessa's face, the nervous defiance, the attempt at justification. Did the other woman actually believe she was in love, or was she just scared and trying to secure her future by making sure Marcus followed through? Her desk phone rang. Internal line. "Selena Vale." "It's Patricia Voss." The lawyer's voice was crisp. "I just got a very interesting call from a lawyer named Richard Brennan. Says he represents Marcus Vale and wants to discuss settlement terms before we file." Selena sat up straighter. "That was fast." Men like your husband move fast when they realize they're about to get caught with their pants down. Literally. Patricia sounded almost amused. "He's proposing a 60-40 split on assets in his favor, claiming he contributed more financially to the marriage. No alimony for either party. Clean break." 60-40? He gets 60%? That's what he's asking for, which tells me two things. One, he thinks you're too scared or too nice to fight. And two, he's probably hiding assets somewhere that he doesn't want exposed in discovery. Selena felt her jaw tighten. "What do you recommend?" "I recommend we file first thing tomorrow morning before he has time to move anything else around. Then we counter with 70-30 in your favor plus alimony for 2 years while you get established. He'll scream, his lawyer will threaten, and then we'll negotiate down to something actually fair." "Do it." "You sure?" "Once we file, there's no going back. This becomes real and public and potentially ugly." Selena thought about Marcus's messages, about Vanessa showing up at her workplace, about 4 years of being the supportive wife while he built an exit plan with someone else. "I'm sure," she said. "File the papers." "Excellent. I'll have them ready by morning." "And Selena, prepare yourself. When he realizes you're serious, he's going to fight back. Men like Marcus don't like losing control." After she hung up, Selena sat at her desk and stared at nothing. Tomorrow her marriage would officially be over. Not emotionally, that had ended on Friday night, but legally, publicly, in a way that couldn't be undone. "You need to get out of here." Damien appeared beside her desk, already holding his coat. "Come on. I have work." "The work will still be here tomorrow. Right now you need food and a drink and somewhere that isn't this building." He waited. "That's not a suggestion." Selena wanted to argue, but she was too tired. She grabbed her coat and followed him back to the parking garage, back to his car, back to the Italian restaurant where they'd been the day before. The same corner booth, the same warm lighting. But tonight, Damien ordered wine instead of just water, and when it arrived, he poured her a glass without asking. "To freedom," he said, raising his own glass. Selena clinked her glass against his. "To surviving the process of getting there." The wine was good, better than good. She could taste the expense in every sip. They ordered food, though Selena barely touched hers. Her mind kept circling back to Patricia's warning. "Prepare yourself. He's going to fight back." "What did she mean?" Selena asked suddenly. "Patricia. She said Marcus would fight back when he realized I was serious. What does that look like?" Damien set down his fork. "It means he'll try to control the narrative. Make himself look like the victim. Maybe claim you were emotionally distant or neglectful. Maybe suggest the affair was a symptom of problems you caused." He paused. "Or he might go harder. Try to dig up dirt on you. Make accusations that aren't true, but muddy the waters enough to improve his position." "But I haven't done anything wrong." "That won't stop him from trying." Damien's expression was serious. "I've seen this pattern before. People don't like being exposed. When they are, they lash out. And your husband strikes me as the type who's very invested in his image." Selena thought about Marcus's messages, the progression from apologetic to angry, the way he tried to frame one affair as one mistake. The attempt at 60-40 asset split like he deserved more. "I didn't cheat on him," she said quietly. "I didn't do anything except try to be a good wife." How does he spin that into me being the problem? By lying, or by finding something innocent and making it look suspicious? Damien hesitated. "Have you been anywhere or done anything lately that could be misinterpreted?" "Like what?" "Like having dinner with your boss 2 nights in a row." The words hung in the air between them. Selena felt her stomach drop. This isn't. "I know that. You know that. But if Marcus is desperate enough, he might try to make it into something it's not." Damien's voice was calm, matter of fact. "I'm not saying he will. I'm just saying we should be prepared for the possibility." "So what, I'm supposed to avoid you? Stop accepting help because it might look bad?" "No. You're supposed to be smart about it. Keep things professional in public. Document everything. Make sure there's no ammunition he can use." Damien leaned back. "I'm not going to stop helping you, Selena. But I also don't want to make your situation worse." Selena drained her wine glass and reached for the bottle to pour more. Her hand shook slightly. She was so tired of being careful, of managing appearances, of worrying about what other people would think or say or assume. "I hate this," she said. "I hate that I have to think this way, that I have to strategize my own divorce like it's some kind of business deal." It is a business deal. That's exactly what divorce is, dissolving a partnership. The emotions make it messy, but at the end of the day, it's just contracts and assets and division of labor. Damien refilled her glass. "The sooner you accept that, the easier it gets." "Is that what you did? With your divorce?" "I've never been married." "Never? Never saw the point." He swirled the wine in his glass. "Marriage is a romantic idea built on the assumption that people don't change. But everyone changes, wants change, needs change. Tying yourself legally to someone based on who they are in one moment and hoping it works out forever seems optimistic at best." "That's pretty cynical." "Maybe. Or maybe it's just realistic." He met her eyes. "You promised forever to someone who promised it back. And here you are. Was I wrong?" Selena wanted to argue with him, to defend the concept of marriage and commitment and building a life with someone. But her evidence was currently living in another woman's apartment and trying to screw her over in the divorce settlement. "No," she admitted, "you weren't wrong." They finished the meal in comfortable silence. The wine helped, smoothing the sharp edges of the day into something more manageable. By the time Damien drove her back to her car, Selena felt almost human again. "Thank you," she said before getting out. "For today, for all of it." "You don't have to keep thanking me." "I know. But I'm going to anyway." Damien smiled slightly. "Then you're welcome. Get some sleep, Selena. Tomorrow starts the real fight." She drove home, to the house that didn't feel like home anymore, and found it empty. Marcus's car wasn't in the driveway. Some of his clothes were missing from the closet. He'd been here and left without waiting for her. Good. Selena changed into pajamas, poured herself another glass of wine from the bottle she kept for cooking, and sat on the couch in the living room. Tomorrow, Patricia would file the divorce papers. Tomorrow, Marcus would get served. Tomorrow, the pretense of civility would probably shatter completely. But tonight, she was alone in a quiet house, drinking mediocre wine and feeling something that wasn't quite peace but wasn't panic either. Her phone buzzed. A text from Damien. Forgot to mention, take tomorrow afternoon off. You'll need time to process once the papers are filed. I'll cover anything urgent. Selena stared at the message, feeling something warm bloom in her chest. When was the last time someone had anticipated her needs like this? Had thought about what she might require before she even knew she needed it? Thank you, she typed back, for everything. Stop thanking me and go to sleep. Doctor's orders. You're not a doctor. Boss's orders, then. Better? Despite everything, Selena smiled. Slightly. Good night, Damien. Good night, Selena. She set the phone down and finished her wine. Tomorrow would be hard. The day after would probably be harder. But for the first time since Friday night, she felt like maybe she could actually survive this. Not just survive, maybe even come out stronger on the other side. The papers were filed at 9:15 Wednesday morning. Patricia called at 9:43 to confirm Marcus had been served at his office. By 10:30, Selena's phone started ringing. She didn't answer. Marcus called 6 times in the first hour. Then Vanessa called twice. Then a number Selena didn't recognize, probably Marcus's lawyer. She let them all go to voicemail and focused on the work in front of her, though the words on her computer screen kept blurring together. At 11, her desk phone rang. Internal line. There's a Marcus Vale here to see you, the receptionist said, voice tight with discomfort. He's being loud. Security is asking if they should... I'll handle it. Selena stood up, smoothing her skirt. Tell security to escort him to the lobby. I'll be right down. She walked to Damien's office. He was in a video conference, but he looked up when she appeared. She held up her phone, showing Marcus's name on the screen with 17 missed calls. Damien's expression went cold. He muted the conference. He's downstairs, Selena said quietly. Security's with him. I'm coming with you. You don't have to... I'm coming with you. His tone left no room for argument. He unmuted the call. Gentlemen, something urgent has come up. We'll reconvene this afternoon. He ended the conference without waiting for responses. They took the elevator down together. Selena could feel her heart pounding, but her hands were steady. She'd prepared for this. Patricia had warned her it would happen. Marcus was pacing the lobby like a caged animal, a security guard standing a careful distance away. He spun around when the elevator doors opened, his face red and furious. What the hell is this? He waved papers at her, the divorce filing. You actually did it? You filed? I told you I would. Selena kept her voice level, aware of the receptionist watching, of people passing through the lobby. What did you think was going to happen? I thought you'd calm down. I thought we'd talk like adults instead of you running to lawyers and trying to take everything I've worked for. Everything you've worked for? Selena felt her control slip slightly. We've been married 4 years, Marcus. Everything we have, we built together. Bullshit. I was the one bringing in real money while you played secretary. Careful. Damien's voice cut through the lobby like ice. You're in my building, talking to my employee. I suggest you choose your next words more carefully. Marcus's eyes snapped to Damien, recognition flickering across his face. Of course you're involved in this. How long has this been going on, Selena? How long have you been fucking your boss while playing the innocent wife? The security guard moved forward, but Damien held up a hand. I'm going to give you one chance to leave on your own, Damien said, his voice dangerously quiet. After that, security will remove you. And trust me, you don't want that scene playing out where your colleagues might see it. You don't get to threaten me, Marcus spat. I know who you are, Orlov. I know what you really do. Everyone knows. So don't stand there acting like you're some kind of white knight when you're nothing but... When I'm nothing but what? Damien took a step closer. Say it. I'm curious what you think you know. Something in his expression made Marcus falter. Selena saw it, the moment her husband realized he'd miscalculated, pushed too hard against someone who didn't push back. This isn't over, Marcus said, redirecting his anger at Selena. You want to play hardball? Fine. Let's see how you like it when everyone knows what kind of woman you really are. What's that supposed to mean? Selena asked. It means I'm not going to roll over while you and your lawyer try to destroy me. You want a war? You got one. Marcus turned and headed for the door, then looked back. By the way, Vanessa's keeping the baby. We're getting married as soon as this divorce goes through. So congratulations. You get to be replaced by someone who actually appreciates what she has. The words were meant to hurt. Selena could see it in his face, the satisfaction at having landed a blow. But all she felt was a distant kind of pity. I hope you're both very happy, she said, and meant it. They deserved each other. Marcus left, the glass doors swinging shut behind him. The lobby was silent except for the ambient noise of the building. Selena could feel eyes on her, the receptionist, the security guard, a handful of employees who'd witnessed the scene. I'm sorry, she said to the guard. Thank you for handling that. No problem, Mrs. Vale. You need me to file a report? Not unless Mr. Orlov thinks it's necessary. Damien shook his head. Just make a note of the incident, time, date, what was said, in case we need it later. Back in the elevator, Selena leaned against the wall and closed her eyes. The adrenaline was starting to fade, leaving her shaky and exhausted. You okay? Damien asked. Not really, but I will be. She opened her eyes. He's going to make this ugly, isn't he? Probably, but we knew that was coming. Damien's jaw was tight. What he said about me, I don't care what he said about you. You should, because if he starts spreading rumors that we're having an affair, it could complicate things for both of us. Selena turned to look at him. Are we? Having an affair? The question hung in the air between them. Damien held her gaze, something unreadable in his dark eyes. No, he said finally, but that won't stop people from believing it if they want to. The elevator doors opened on the 42nd floor. Selena stepped out, then paused. For what it's worth, she said, I don't care what people believe. You've been nothing but honest with me. That's more than I can say for my husband. Soon-to-be ex-husband, Damien corrected. Soon-to-be ex-husband, she agreed. Her phone started ringing again as she sat down at her desk. Marcus. She declined the call and blocked his number, then did the same with Vanessa's. If they needed to communicate, they could do it through lawyers like civilized people. Patricia called around noon. I heard about the scene at your office, she said without preamble. Building security already sent over the incident report. Smart move getting that documented. That was Damien's idea. He's good at this. Better than most people realize. Patricia's tone shifted. Listen, I need to warn you about something. Marcus's lawyer just filed a motion requesting a delay on the divorce proceedings. He's claiming you filed in bad faith without giving him adequate time to seek reconciliation. We're past reconciliation. He knows that. Of course he does. This is a stalling tactic. He's trying to slow things down, probably while he moves assets around or builds a case against you. Patricia sounded annoyed. The judge will likely deny it, but it's going to add a few weeks to the timeline. What kind of case could he possibly build? I didn't do anything wrong. Doesn't matter. He just needs to create enough doubt to improve his negotiating position. Patricia paused. Have you checked your social media lately? Selena's stomach dropped. Why? Because Marcus just posted a very emotional status about how devastated he is that his marriage is ending. Lots of vague language about being blindsided, about trying to work things out, about not understanding where it all went wrong. Very calculated to make him look like the victim. He cheated on me. He got another woman pregnant. How does he paint himself as the victim? By leaving all that out and focusing on how heartbroken he is. It's manipulation 101. He's setting the stage for a narrative where you're the cold, unreasonable wife who won't even try to save the marriage. Patricia's voice hardened. Don't respond to it. Don't engage. Let him shout into the void while we focus on the actual legal process. After she hung up, Selena pulled up Marcus's social media against her better judgment. The post was exactly as Patricia described, vague enough to avoid outright lies, but crafted to generate sympathy. The comments were already piling up, friends and colleagues offering support, telling him he deserved better, asking if he was okay. A few people had tagged Selena, asking for her side of the story. She closed the app and blocked Marcus there too. Let him have his performance. She wasn't interested in playing that game. The afternoon dragged. Selena tried to work, but her concentration was shot. Every notification made her jump, wondering if Marcus was escalating, if he'd show up again, if he'd found some new way to make her life difficult. At 4, Damien appeared at her desk. Go home, he said. You're useless right now anyway. Thanks. That's comforting. I'm serious. You've had a rough day. Go home, take a bath, drink some wine. Tomorrow will be better. He hesitated. Unless going home sounds terrible, in which case, I have a better option. What kind of option? I own a property downtown, small building, 3 units, 2 are rented, 1's empty. I've been planning to renovate it, but the contractor keeps flaking. It's furnished, clean, quiet. You could stay there while you figure out something permanent. Selena stared at him. You're offering me an apartment? I'm offering you a temporary solution to a housing problem. The lease on your current place is in both your names, right? Which means Marcus could show up whenever he wants. Legally, it's still his home too. Damien's expression was matter of fact. This way you have somewhere that's completely yours. No surprise visits, no walking on eggshells, just space. I can't accept that. Why not? Because it's too much. You've already done so much, and if Marcus finds out, he'll use it against me. He'll say we're having an affair, that you're helping me because what? Because I'm sleeping with you? Damien leaned against her desk. Let him say it. Let him tell anyone who'll listen. The truth is documented. You're my employee, you're going through a divorce, and I'm helping you the same way I'd help any valued member of my team. If he wants to twist that into something dirty, that says more about him than us. People will believe him. Some will, some won't. The ones who matter will see it for what it is. He pulled a key from his pocket and set it on her desk. The address is on the tag. Go look at it. If you hate it, don't use it, but at least you'll have options. Selena picked up the key, the metal warm from being in his pocket. Why are you doing this? I told you already. I don't like waste, and watching you get beaten down by someone who doesn't deserve you is wasteful. Damien straightened. Plus, I hate inefficiency. You trying to work while worried about whether your husband is going to show up at your house is inefficient. This solves that problem. It was such a Damien answer. Practical, logical, stripped of sentiment. But Selena heard what he wasn't saying underneath. He was worried about her, genuinely worried. Thank you, she said quietly. Stop thanking me and go check out the apartment. I'll see you tomorrow. The address was in a neighborhood Selena had always liked. Older buildings with character, tree-lined streets, close enough to downtown to be convenient, but far enough to feel like an actual neighborhood. She found the building easily, a 3-story brick structure with a small courtyard garden. The apartment was on the 2nd floor. Selena unlocked the door and stepped inside, half expecting something sparse and masculine. Instead, she found a space that was surprisingly warm. Hardwood floors, big windows that let in afternoon light, a kitchen with updated appliances and enough counter space to actually cook. The furniture was minimal, but good quality. A couch, a bed, a small dining table. It felt like a home waiting for someone to live in it. Selena walked through each room, testing the water pressure in the bathroom, opening closets, checking that the heating worked. Everything functioned. Everything was clean. It was better than the house she'd been living in with Marcus, if she was being honest. She stood in the middle of the living room and made a decision. She was moving in. The next 2 days passed in a blur of logistics. Selena went back to the house when she knew Marcus wouldn't be there and packed everything that mattered. Clothes, books, a few pieces of furniture that had been hers before the marriage. She hired movers for the heavy stuff and did the rest herself, making trip after trip in her car until the house looked like a place she'd never lived at all. Marcus called her lawyer. Patricia called her back. He wants to talk settlement, Patricia said. He's dropped the 60-40 demand. Now he's proposing 50-50 on everything. No alimony, clean split. What do you think? I think he's scared. The pregnancy complicates things for him legally. Plus, whatever social media sympathy he generated isn't going to hold up in court when we present evidence of the affair. Patricia sounded satisfied. We can do better than 50-50. I say we push for 60-40 in your favor plus 12 months alimony. Do it. You got it. Oh, and Selena, his lawyer mentioned something about you accepting gifts from your employer, specifically housing. They're trying to build a case that you've been financially unfaithful, whatever that means. Selena closed her eyes. Of course, Marcus had found out about the apartment, probably from Vanessa, who probably had friends at Orlov Industries. I'm paying rent, she said, market rate. Damien already drew up a lease. He had, actually. Selena had found it on her desk that morning, a standard rental agreement, everything legal and documented. The rent was lower than market rate, but not so low it looked suspicious. Just fair. Perfect. Send me a copy. That'll shut down that angle pretty fast. Patricia paused. How are you holding up? I'm okay, tired, but okay. That's normal. Divorce is exhausting even when it's the right choice. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. We're almost through the worst of it. But Patricia was wrong about that. The worst came on Friday afternoon when Selena's desk phone rang and the voice on the other end identified herself as Detective Sarah Chen from the City Police Department. Mrs. Vale, I need you to come down to the station to answer some questions. Selena's blood went cold. Questions about what? About allegations made by Marcus Vale regarding theft of marital assets and potential fraud. It would be better if we discussed this in person. I haven't stolen anything. This is ridiculous. I understand this is frustrating, but we have to follow up on filed reports. You can bring a lawyer if you'd like. When can you come in? Selena's hands were shaking when she hung up. She immediately called Patricia, who listened to the whole story and swore creatively. He filed a police report, Patricia said, fury in her voice. That absolute bastard filed a false police report to make you look like a criminal. Can he do that? Technically? Yes. Is it legal when the allegations are bullshit? No. But it doesn't matter because now you have to deal with it. Patricia was already typing. Selena could hear the keyboard clicking. Don't go to the station alone. I'll meet you there in an hour. Don't answer any questions without me present. Don't volunteer information. Don't try to defend yourself. Just wait for me. Selena walked to Damien's office on autopilot. He took one look at her face and stood up. What happened? Marcus filed a police report. They want me to come in for questioning about theft and fraud. Her voice sounded distant to her own ears. He's trying to make me look like a criminal. Damien's expression went absolutely glacial. Does Patricia know? She's meeting me at the station. I'm coming too. You don't have to. Selena. He walked around his desk and stood in front of her. I'm coming. End of discussion. The police station was exactly as depressing as Selena expected. Fluorescent lights, institutional beige walls, the smell of bad coffee and stress. Patricia met them in the lobby, already in full lawyer mode. Here's what's going to happen, she said, voice low and intense. They're going to ask you about joint accounts, about money you've moved, about property you've taken from the house. You answer only what I tell you to answer. If they push, I shut it down. If they try to separate us, I shut it down. Your job is to stay calm and let me handle this. I didn't do anything wrong, Selena said. I know, but that doesn't matter right now. What matters is not giving them ammunition. Patricia looked at Damien. You should wait out here. If they see her arriving with her boss, it adds fuel to Marcus's narrative. I'm not leaving her alone. I'm not alone. I have my lawyer. Selena put a hand on Damien's arm. Wait here. I'll be fine. She wasn't fine, but she could pretend for an hour. Detective Chen turned out to be a tired-looking woman in her 40s with skeptical eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She led Selena and Patricia to a small interview room and pulled out a file. Mrs. Vale, your husband claims you've been moving money out of joint accounts without his knowledge. He also claims you've taken property from the marital home worth several $1,000s. Detective Chen's tone was neutral. Can you explain these actions? I moved my salary deposits into a separate account after I discovered my husband was having an affair, Selena said, exactly as Patricia had coached her. The money I moved was money I earned. The property I took were items I owned before the marriage, along with gifts from my family. Everything is documented. Do you have proof of ownership? Patricia slid a folder across the table. Purchase receipts, gift documentation, and photos showing the items in Mrs. Vale's childhood home before the marriage. Everything she took belonged to her. Detective Chen flipped through the documents, her expression unchanging. What about the account transfers? My client moved her own salary into her own account. That's not theft. That's basic financial planning during a divorce. Patricia's voice was steel. If Mr. Vale has a problem with how marital assets are being divided, he can address it in divorce court. This is not a criminal matter. He's also claiming you've been engaging in an extramarital affair with your employer, Damien Orloff, and that you've been receiving gifts and housing in exchange for sexual favors. The words hung in the air like toxic smoke. Selena felt her face flush, anger and humiliation warring in her chest. That's a lie, she said. Is it true that you're currently living in a property owned by Mr. Orloff? I'm renting an apartment from my employer at market rate. I have a lease. Patricia pulled out another document. Fully legal, fully documented, fully above board. And the nature of your relationship with Mr. Orlov? Professional. He's my boss. That's all. Detective Chen studied Selina's face for a long moment. Then she closed the file. Mrs. Vale, I'm going to be straight with you. This complaint smells like a man trying to use the legal system to harass his soon-to-be ex-wife. Nothing in these allegations constitutes actual criminal activity. However, we're required to follow up on filed reports. She stood. You're free to go. If we need anything else, we'll contact your lawyer. In the hallway, Patricia was practically vibrating with rage. That son of a bitch. Filing false police reports is illegal. I'm going to bury him for this. He's desperate, Selina said quietly. He knows he's losing control. Desperate men are dangerous men. Patricia looked at her seriously. You need to be careful, Selina. No more being alone with him. No private conversations. Everything goes through lawyers from here on out. Understood? Damien was waiting in the lobby, standing by the windows with his phone in his hand. When he saw them, he crossed the space in 3 strides. What happened? Marcus is flailing, Patricia said. Threw everything at the wall to see what stuck. Nothing did. But I'm filing a formal complaint about the false report, and I'm using this in the divorce proceedings to demonstrate bad faith. Good. Damien's eyes were on Selina's face. Are you okay? I'm angry, she said. I'm so angry I can barely think straight. He's trying to destroy me because I won't let him walk away from this mess without consequences. Then let's give him some real consequences. Damien looked at Patricia. What can we do? We go nuclear. Full financial discovery. Demand every bank statement, every credit card receipt, every transaction for the last 2 years. If he's hiding assets, and I'm betting he is, we find them and we use them to crucify him in court. Do it. They stood in the police station lobby, the 3 of them, and Selina felt something shift. This wasn't just her divorce anymore. This was war. And she wasn't fighting alone. Over the next week, Patricia made good on her promise. The discovery requests were brutal and comprehensive. Marcus's lawyer tried to fight them, claiming they were overly broad and invasive. The judge disagreed. Within days, the evidence started appearing. A second credit card Selina hadn't known about, maxed out with charges at expensive restaurants and hotels. A savings account in Marcus's name only, containing $40,000 that should have been part of marital assets. Receipts for jewelry Selina had never received. He'd been planning his exit for months. Maybe longer. This is good for us, Patricia said over the phone. This proves deliberate deception and financial misconduct. We can use this to push for a much more favorable settlement. I don't care about the settlement anymore, Selina admitted. I just want it over. I know, but you should care. Because he tried to screw you over, and the best revenge is making sure he doesn't get away with it. The breaking point came 2 weeks after the police station incident. Selina was working late at the office. She'd been doing that more often, finding comfort in the routine of work, when her personal phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Selina Vale. This is Mercy General Hospital. We have a Marcus Vale here who's been in an accident. You're listed as his emergency contact. Can you come in? The world tilted. Selina gripped the edge of her desk. What kind of accident? Car accident. He's stable, but we need someone to sign some forms and make some decisions about his care. I'm his wife, but we're divorcing. There should be someone else. You're the only contact we have. Can you come? Selina looked at the clock, 7:30 p.m. She should say no. Should tell them to call Vanessa or Marcus's parents or literally anyone else. But old habits died hard. I'll be there in 20 minutes. She grabbed her coat and headed for the elevator, then remembered Damien was still in his office. She knocked on his open door. He looked up from his computer. I thought you went home. Marcus was in a car accident. The hospital called. They need someone to sign forms. Damien was on his feet immediately. I'm driving you. You don't, Selina, I'm driving you. They didn't speak on the way to the hospital. Damien navigated through evening traffic with focused efficiency, while Selina stared out the window and tried to process what she was feeling. Worry? Yes, despite everything. Anger that she was the one dealing with this. Absolutely. A strange sense of obligation that she couldn't quite shake. Unfortunately, the hospital was chaos. People in scrubs rushing past, overhead pages, the antiseptic smell that all hospitals shared. Selena found the emergency desk and gave Marcus's name. A nurse led her through a maze of curtained exam areas to a room in the back. Marcus was on a bed, looking battered but conscious. His face was bruised. One arm was in a sling. When he saw Selena, something complicated crossed his expression. "You came," he said. "They said you needed someone to sign forms." Selena's voice was flat. "Where's Vanessa?" "I don't know. I called her. She didn't answer." He tried to sit up and winced. "I crashed my car, ran a red light. Other drivers fine, but my car's totaled." "Were you drunk?" "No, just not paying attention." Marcus looked at her properly. "I've been a mess, Selena. This whole thing, the divorce, the fighting, all of it. I can't sleep, can't focus. I keep replaying everything and wondering how it got this bad. You cheated on me. You got another woman pregnant. You filed a false police report. That's how it got this bad." "I know. I know I did this. But I never meant for it to go this far. I never wanted to hurt you this badly." His voice cracked. Can we talk? Like actual human beings instead of through lawyers?" Selena wanted to say no. Wanted to walk out and let him figure out his own mess. But he looked genuinely broken. And part of her, the part that had loved him once, couldn't just abandon him completely. "Fine," she said. "Talk. I'm sorry. For all of it. The affair, the lies, everything I've put you through these past few weeks. You deserve better than what I gave you." Marcus closed his eyes. "I don't even know why I did it. Vanessa was just there, available. And things with us had been distant for so long, and I convinced myself it didn't matter, that you wouldn't care." "Of course I cared," Selena interrupted. "I was your wife. I know that now. But in the moment, I got lost. And now I'm here, alone in a hospital, and the person who showed up is the person I destroyed. That's pretty pathetic, isn't it?" "Yeah, it is." Marcus opened his eyes. "Do you think we could try again? Start over? Go to counseling? Work through this properly?" And there it was. The question Selena had been dreading. Part of her had known it was coming. The desperate plea for a second chance. The promise that things would be different. "No," she said clearly. "We can't." "Why not? People work through affairs all the time." "Because I don't want to. Because even if you're genuinely sorry now, that doesn't change what you did. And because I finally realized something important." Selena met his eyes. "I don't love you anymore. Maybe I haven't for a while. Maybe this whole thing just made me face it. But either way, it's over. Really, truly over." Marcus stared at her, and she watched the hope drain from his face. "It's him, isn't it? Your boss. You're in love with him. This has nothing to do with Damien. Don't lie to me. I saw how he looked at you at that Christmas dinner. I saw how you looked at him." Selena felt her patience snap. "You saw me looking at someone who actually paid attention to me while you were off screwing your coworker. So yeah, maybe I noticed that someone else saw me as more than a convenient prop in his life. But that's not why I'm leaving you. I'm leaving you because you made me invisible, and I'm done being invisible." She turned to go. "Selena, wait. Sign your own forms, Marcus. Call Vanessa. Call your lawyer. Call anyone except me. We're done." Damien was in the waiting room reading something on his phone. He looked up when Selena appeared. "How is he?" "Banged up, but fine, and not my problem anymore." She took a breath. "Can we go?" They walked back to the car in silence. Selena felt hollow, like she'd finally said everything that needed saying, and now there was just empty space where anger and hurt used to be. "You okay?" Damien asked once they were on the road. He asked if we could try again, if we could start over. "What did you say?" "I said no. I told him I don't love him anymore." Selena looked out the window. "And I realized while I was saying it that it's true. I don't. I'm angry about what he did, but I don't actually want him back. I just want to move forward." "That's good. That's healthy." "He thinks I'm leaving him for you." Damien's hands tightened slightly on the steering wheel. "Are you?" The question hung in the air between them. Selena turned to look at him, at his profile in the dim light of passing street lamps, and something clicked into place in her mind. "No," she said slowly. "But I think maybe I want to." Damien pulled over, just stopped the car on a quiet side street and turned to face her. "Say that again." "I think I want to. Leave him for you. Except I'm already leaving him, so it's not really for you. It's just She stopped, frustrated with her own inability to articulate what she meant. You've been there for me through all of this. You've seen me at my worst and you didn't run. You made me feel like I mattered, like I was worth fighting for. And somewhere in all of that, I started looking at you differently. Selena, I know the timing's terrible. I know I'm still legally married and going through a divorce and probably a complete emotional mess. I know getting involved with you right now would be complicated and messy, and exactly what Marcus is accusing us of anyway. She met his eyes. But I'm tired of doing what I'm supposed to do and being who I'm supposed to be. So I'm just telling you the truth, and you can do whatever you want with it. Damien looked at her for a long moment. Then he reached out and cupped her face in his hand, thumb brushing across her cheekbone. The timing's terrible, he agreed, and it's going to be complicated. And Marcus is absolutely going to use this against you in the divorce. I know, but I don't care. He leaned closer. I've been watching you for 3 years, Selena. I've seen you handle impossible situations with grace. I didn't know people actually possessed. I've listened to you talk and thought about how rare it is to meet someone who's genuinely smart, not just educated. I've spent the last month trying to convince myself I was just being protective of a valued employee, when the truth is, I've wanted you from the first day you walked into my office. Selena's breath caught. Then why didn't you say something? Because you were married. And I don't poach. I don't pursue women who belong to someone else, no matter how badly they're being treated. His eyes were intense in the dim light. But you don't belong to him anymore. You belong to yourself. So I'm saying it now. I want you. Not despite the mess you're in. Not because I feel sorry for you. Just because you're you. If we do this, Selena said, we have to be smart about it. We have to wait until the divorce is final. We can't give Marcus ammunition. We can wait. Damien's hand was still on her face. I've waited 3 years. I can wait a few more months. And after? When the divorce is done and everything's settled? After? I'm going to do everything your husband never did. I'm going to see you. Pay attention to you. Make you feel like the most important person in any room. He smiled slightly. And I'm going to make sure you never question whether you made the right choice. Selena kissed him. She didn't plan it, didn't think about consequences or optics or what it meant. She just leaned forward and pressed her lips to his, and Damien pulled her closer, kissing her back with an intensity that made her forget they were parked on a random street at 8 o'clock on a Friday night. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Damien rested his forehead against hers. We should stop, he said. Probably. Marcus is right about one thing. The way I look at you, it's not professional. The way I look at you isn't either. Then we have a problem. Or, Selena said, we have something worth waiting for. Damien kissed her again, softer this time. Then he pulled back and put the car in drive. I'm taking you home, he said. Your home. And then I'm going to my home. And we're going to wait until this divorce is final and everything is legal and above board. And then? And then I'm going to take you to dinner somewhere expensive and show you what it's like to be with someone who actually deserves you. Selena smiled despite everything. I'm going to hold you to that. Good. He drove her back to the apartment, walked her to her door like a gentleman from another era, and kissed her one more time before leaving. Selena stood in her quiet apartment and touched her lips, still feeling the pressure of his mouth on hers. The divorce wasn't over. The legal battle would probably drag on for weeks more. Marcus would likely escalate again when he realized she wasn't coming back. But for the first time since this whole nightmare started, Selena felt like she was building towards something instead of just surviving the wreckage of what she'd lost. And that made all the difference. The weekend after this hospital felt suspended in time. Selena spent Saturday cleaning her apartment with manic energy, scrubbing surfaces that were already clean, reorganizing closets that didn't need organizing. Anything to keep her hands busy and her mind from replaying that kiss in Damien's car over and over. Sunday she tried to read, gave up after 3 pages, and ended up staring at her phone. No messages from Marcus. No missed calls. The silence should have been a relief, but instead it felt ominous, like the calm before something worse. Monday morning arrived with gray skies and the promise of rain. Selena dressed carefully, charcoal suit, cream blouse, her good heels. Armor for whatever the week would bring. She made coffee, checked her email, and drove to work with the radio playing songs she didn't hear. The office felt different when she stepped off the elevator. People were clustered in small groups, talking in low voices that stopped when they saw her. Jennifer from marketing quickly looked away. David from finance pretended to be fascinated by his phone. Even the receptionist wouldn't meet her eyes. Selena felt her stomach drop. Something had happened, something bad. She walked to her desk and found Patricia Voss already there, standing next to Damien's office door with an expression that could cut glass. "We need to talk," Patricia said without preamble. "Conference room, now." Damien emerged from his office, his face carefully blank. That scared Selena more than anything else. Damien was never blank. He was controlled, composed, calculated, but never blank. They filed into the nearest conference room. Patricia closed the door and pulled out her tablet. "Marcus went to the media," she said flatly. "Or rather, he went to a blogger. One of those gossip sites that specializes in business scandals and wealthy families. The article went live an hour ago." She turned the tablet so Selena could see. The headline made her vision blur. "Mafia Boss and the Secretary Inside the Affair That Destroyed a Marriage." Selena's hands went cold. "What?" "It's all there. Your relationship with Damien, the apartment, the dinners, your divorce. Marcus is painting himself as the betrayed husband who only made one mistake while you've been carrying on an affair with your boss for months." Patricia's voice was tight with fury. "He's also heavily implying that Damien's business connections are less than legal. Lots of vague language about rumors and whispers and what people say to avoid actual libel. But we didn't." Selena looked at Damien, whose expression had gone from blank to arctic. "Doesn't matter," Patricia said. "The story's out there now. It's getting shared. People are commenting. Some of your coworkers have already been contacted for quotes." "What did they say?" "Most refused to comment. A few said you and Damien have always been professional. One person, Jennifer Davis, said she'd noticed you two spending a lot of time together lately and that it seemed inappropriate for a boss and his assistant." Patricia grimaced. "That's the quote that's getting traction." Selena sank into a chair. This was a nightmare. A public, viral nightmare that would follow her forever. Everyone would believe it. Everyone would assume she'd been sleeping with Damien all along, that the divorce was her fault, that Marcus was the victim. "Can we sue?" she asked. "For defamation or libel or something? We could try. But truth is a defense, and he's been careful. He's not saying you definitely had an affair. He's just asking questions, sharing his feelings, expressing his hurt." Patricia's jaw was tight. "It's calculated. His lawyer probably wrote half of it. So we do nothing? We just let people believe this?" "No. We issue a statement. Clean, professional, factual. We deny the affair. We point out the timeline, that you're still technically married, that the divorce is ongoing, that Marcus is trying to manipulate public opinion." Patricia looked at Damien. "But we need to be strategic. If we push too hard, it looks defensive. If we don't push hard enough, silence becomes confirmation." Damien had been quiet through all of this, standing by the window with his hands in his pockets. Now he turned to face them. "The article mentions my alleged connections to organized crime," he said, his voice dangerously soft. "Marcus is gambling that I won't respond because responding means drawing attention to things I'd rather keep quiet." "Are the allegations true?" Patricia asked bluntly. "Some of them, the relevant ones." Damien's expression didn't change. "I've done business with people who operate outside legal boundaries. I've solved problems in ways that don't appear on tax returns. I've built connections that law enforcement would find very interesting if they looked too closely." Selena stared at him. She'd suspected. The rumors had always been there. But hearing him admit it so calmly was something else entirely. "Then we have a problem," Patricia said, "because if you defend yourself too aggressively, Marcus might actually have evidence to back up his claims. And if he does, he doesn't have evidence. He has rumors and speculation. But if I come down too hard, he'll go looking for actual evidence, and he might find it." Damien walked to the table and leaned against it. "So we don't defend me. We defend Selena. We make this about her character, her professionalism, her right to end a marriage without being dragged through the mud by a man who cheated on her." "And what about you?" Selena asked. "You're just going to let him trash your reputation?" "My reputation can handle it. I've been dealing with these whispers for years. One more article isn't going to change anything." Damien met her eyes. But you're different. You've worked hard to build credibility in this industry. I'm not going to let Marcus destroy that because he's angry about losing you. This is my fault, Selena said quietly. If I hadn't kissed you. If you hadn't kissed me, he would have found some other angle. Men like Marcus always do. Damien's voice was firm. This isn't on you. This is on him for being vindictive, and it's on me for not being more careful. Patricia cleared her throat. Here's what we're going to do. We draft a statement from Selena categorically denying the affair and stating the facts. That she discovered her husband's infidelity, that she filed for divorce, that she's been living separately for weeks. We don't mention Damien except to say that he's been a supportive employer during a difficult time, which is perfectly normal and appropriate. What about my statement? Damien asked. You don't make one. Not yet. If you respond, you legitimize the claims. Better to let your lawyers handle it quietly behind the scenes. Patricia started typing on her tablet. I'll have a draft in an hour. In the meantime, Selena, you need to avoid talking to anyone about this. No social media, no responding to messages, nothing. What about work? Selena looked around the conference room, suddenly aware of how exposed she was. Everyone out there has read that article. They're all going to assume. Let them assume, Damien said. You've done nothing wrong. You show up, you do your job, you act like none of this touches you. That's the best response. I don't know if I can do that. Yes, you can. He held her gaze. You're stronger than you think. You've proven that over and over these past few weeks. Patricia stood up. I need to make some calls. Selena, go home. Take the day. Come back tomorrow when we have a plan in place. I'm not running away. You're not running. You're being strategic. There's a difference. Patricia's expression softened slightly. Trust me on this. Going out there right now while people are reading that article and forming opinions isn't going to help anyone. Selena wanted to argue, but she was too tired, too overwhelmed. She nodded and stood up, gathering her things with mechanical precision. Damien walked her to the elevator. They didn't speak until the doors closed and they were alone. I'm sorry, he said. This is exactly what I was trying to avoid. You didn't do anything wrong. Neither did you, but we're both paying for it anyway. The elevator descended smoothly. Patricia's right, though. This will blow over. Scandals always do. Something else will happen, some other story will take attention, and people will forget. Will they? Selena looked at him. Or will I always be the woman who slept with her boss to get ahead? You didn't sleep with me. They don't know that, and even if I tell them, they won't believe me. The story's too good, too tidy. Betrayed husband, cheating wife, powerful boss with shady connections. It's like something out of a movie. The elevator reached the parking garage. Damien held the door open but didn't let her leave. Selena, look at me. He waited until she met his eyes. I know this feels impossible right now. I know you're scared and angry and probably regretting every choice that led you here, but you're going to get through this. And when you do, you're going to be exactly who you were before Marcus decided to blow up your life. Smart, capable, and worth 10 of him on his best day. How can you be so sure? Because I've watched you handle impossible situations with impossible people for 3 years. This is just one more impossible situation, and you're going to handle it the same way you handle everything else, with more grace than anyone has a right to expect. Selena felt something crack in her chest. Before she could stop herself, she stepped forward and wrapped her arms around him. Damien hesitated for half a second, then hugged her back, solid and warm and steady. I'm going to fix this, he said quietly into her hair. I promise you, I'm going to fix this. How? You let me worry about that. They stood there for another moment, then separated. Selena wiped her eyes and tried to pull herself together. Go home, Damien said gently. Read a book, take a bath, do something that has nothing to do with any of this. I'll call you later. Selena drove home on autopilot, her mind spinning. The article would be everywhere by now. Her name, her face, her entire life exposed for public consumption. People she'd never met forming opinions about her character, her choices, her worth as a human being. Her phone started ringing as soon as she walked into her apartment. Unknown numbers, blocked calls. She declined them all and finally turned the phone off completely. The silence was deafening. She tried to take Damien's advice, ran a bath, attempted to read, made tea she didn't drink. But her mind kept circling back to that article, to the comments section she'd been smart enough not to read, to the coworkers who'd probably believed every word. Around 3 in the afternoon, someone knocked on her door. Selina froze. Marcus wouldn't come here. Would he? Or maybe it was a reporter, someone looking for a quote or a photo or confirmation of the affair that wasn't happening. She looked through the peephole and saw Patricia Voss standing in the hallway with a leather briefcase and an expression that meant business. Selina opened the door. I thought you said you'd call. Change of plans. We need to talk. Now. Patricia walked in without waiting for an invitation. Do you have coffee? I can make some. Make a lot. This is going to take a while. They sat at Selina's small dining table with coffee and the tablet showing that horrible article. Patricia pulled up a separate document, a legal brief, dense with text. I've been doing research, Patricia said. Marcus's lawyer made a mistake. A big one. That article contains several statements that are demonstrably false and defamatory. Specifically, the part where Marcus claims you've been receiving expensive gifts from Damien. You haven't. You're paying market rate rent. That's documented. So we can sue. Better, we can threaten to sue, which will force them to retract or face actual legal consequences. Patricia's smile was sharp. But there's more. I had a friend in forensics look at Marcus's financial records, the ones we pulled during discovery. There are some transactions that don't add up. Money moving from the joint account into his personal account, then immediately out to a third party. Consistent amounts, regular timing. What does that mean? It means he's been systematically draining marital assets and hiding them somewhere, probably preparing for the divorce long before you filed, which means he's been planning this exit strategy for months. Patricia looked up from the tablet. It also means he's committed fraud, actual prosecutable fraud. Selina set down her coffee cup before she dropped it. You're sure? I'm sure enough to bring it to a judge. And once I do, Marcus's entire case falls apart. The betrayed husband narrative doesn't work when you're the one who's been stealing from your wife. Patricia's expression was fierce. We can destroy him with this, Selina. Completely destroy him. But I need to know if you want to go that far. What's the alternative? We threaten to expose the fraud and force a settlement. He retracts the article, pays you what you're owed, and disappears quietly. No public trial, no criminal charges, just a clean end to all of this. And if we go to trial, then everything comes out. The affair with Vanessa, the hidden money, his attempt to manipulate the legal system and public opinion. He'll be humiliated, possibly prosecuted, and you'll get everything you deserve in the divorce. Patricia paused. But it'll also keep you in the spotlight longer. More articles, more speculation, more people picking apart your life. Selina closed her eyes. The smart choice was obvious. Take the settlement, end this quietly, move on with her life. But the angry part of her, the part that had been dismissed and lied to and dragged through the mud, wanted to watch Marcus face consequences for once. I want to talk to Damien, she said finally. Patricia nodded. I thought you might. He's why I came in person instead of calling. He needs to understand what exposure means for him too. If this goes to trial and Marcus starts throwing accusations around, some of them might stick. People might start looking more closely at Damien's business dealings. He could face real problems. Have you told him that? Not yet. I wanted to talk to you first. Patricia stood up. Come on, we're going to his house. This conversation needs to happen face to face. Damien's house turned out to be a penthouse in one of the city's most exclusive buildings. All glass and steel and views that probably cost more per month than most people made in a year. Patricia had called ahead, so he was waiting when they arrived, dressed casually in jeans and a black sweater that made him look younger and somehow more dangerous at the same time. This must be serious if you're both here, he said, ushering them inside. The penthouse was exactly what Selina would have expected. Expensive but not showy, modern furniture in neutral tones, art on the walls that was probably worth a fortune. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, and Selina could see all the way to the river from where she stood. We have a decision to make, Patricia said, laying out the situation. The fraud, the options, the risks. Damien listened without interrupting, his face unreadable. When Patricia finished, he walked to the windows and stared out at the skyline for a long moment. You want my opinion? He said finally. I want you to understand what's at stake, Patricia replied. If we push this, Marcus will push back, and he'll push where it hurts. Let him. Damien turned around. I've spent years building a legitimate business empire while keeping my other interests carefully separated. If Marcus wants to accuse me of having connections to organized crime, let him try to prove it. He won't find anything actionable. He looked at Selena. But this isn't my choice, it's yours. You're the one who has to live with whatever we decide. What would you do? Selena asked. If it were you, I'd burn him to the ground. Damien's voice was cold and certain. I don't believe in half measures. You either walk away completely or you make sure the person who hurt you never gets the chance to do it again. That's not helpful, Patricia muttered. It's honest. Damien crossed the room to stand in front of Selena. But I also know that revenge has a cost. It feels good in the moment, but the aftermath can be brutal. So you need to decide what you can live with. A clean break and uncertainty about whether he learned anything, or a public trial and the satisfaction of watching him face consequences. Selena thought about Marcus in the hospital, apologizing, asking for another chance. She thought about Vanessa showing up at her office, pregnant and defiant. She thought about that article, her name plastered across the internet next to words like affair and scandal and Mafia Boss. She thought about 4 years of being invisible and about finally being seen. I want the trial, she said. I want everyone to know what he did. I want him to face actual consequences instead of just moving on to his next victim like nothing happened. Patricia nodded slowly. You're sure? Because once we file these charges, there's no going back. I'm sure. Selena met Damien's eyes. And if that means they start looking at you more closely, I'm sorry. But I can't let him win just because he threatened the right person. He didn't threaten the right person, he threatened the wrong person. Damien's smile was cold. Patricia, file the charges. Let's see how brave Marcus feels when he's facing actual legal consequences. Over the next week, everything exploded. Patricia filed a motion exposing Marcus's financial fraud. The evidence was damning. Bank statements showing systematic transfers, dates corresponding to times when Marcus claimed to be working late, amounts that added up to nearly $70,000 in hidden assets. Marcus's lawyer tried to fight it, claiming the evidence was obtained illegally. The judge disagreed. Discovery was discovery, and Marcus had been required to disclose all marital assets. The fact that he'd hidden some was fraud, plain and simple. The story hit the news cycle. Not the gossip blogs this time, but actual news outlets. Local businessman charged with fraud in divorce case. The article about Selena and Damien's supposed affair got buried under the new narrative. Cheating husband steals from wife, then tries to paint her as the villain. Public opinion shifted fast. The comments section that had been full of people calling Selena a homewrecker suddenly filled with support. Apologies from people who'd believed Marcus's version of events. Anger at a man who'd betrayed his wife, gotten another woman pregnant, and then tried to destroy his wife's reputation when she wouldn't play along. Jennifer from marketing sent Selena an email. I'm so sorry. I should never have said anything to that reporter. I didn't know the whole story. Selena didn't respond. Some things couldn't be fixed with an apology. Marcus predictably lost his mind. He called Selena's lawyer, threatening to countersue for emotional distress. He went back to that gossip blog and gave another interview, this time claiming Selena had manipulated the evidence and that Damien was using his connections to intimidate witnesses. The blogger published it, then got hit with a cease and desist letter from Damien's legal team, so aggressive that the entire article disappeared within hours. He's spiraling, Patricia said during one of their daily check-ins. His lawyer is trying to control him, but Marcus keeps making it worse. At this rate, he's going to end up facing criminal charges on top of the divorce. Good, Selena said, and meant it. The trial date was set for 6 weeks out. Selena spent those weeks in a strange kind of limbo, working, existing, going through the motions of normal life while everything underneath churned with tension. She and Damien maintained careful professional distance at the office, but he called her every night just to check in, just to make sure she was okay. How are you holding up? He asked one evening, 3 weeks before the trial. I'm tired, Selena admitted. She was curled up on her couch with tea and a book she wasn't reading. I'm tired of thinking about Marcus and lawyers and trials. I'm tired of checking the news to see if he said something else terrible. I just want it to be over. It will be soon. And then what? After it's over and the divorce is final and we've both moved on, what happens then? Damien was quiet for a moment. Then I take you to dinner, like I promised. Somewhere expensive. Somewhere Marcus could never afford. and we start over. What if people still believe we've been having an affair this whole time? Then they believe it. We know the truth. That's what matters. Is it? Selena set down her tea. Because I'm not sure the truth matters as much as what people think is true. I could lose my job over this. My reputation. Everything I've worked for. You won't lose your job. I won't let that happen. You can't control everything, Damien. No, but I can control this. His voice was firm. I can make sure you're protected, that you have options, that you're never dependent on anyone's opinion of you for your survival. That sounds like you're planning something. Maybe I am. Damien, trust me, Selena, please. Just trust me for a few more weeks. She wanted to ask what he meant, what he was planning, but she was too exhausted to push. So she just agreed and hung up and tried to sleep without dreaming about courtrooms and cameras and Marcus's face when everything fell apart. The night before the trial, Selena couldn't sleep. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, running through testimony in her head, imagining every possible scenario. At 2 a.m, she gave up and made tea, settling on the couch with a blanket and the city lights visible through her windows. Her phone buzzed. Damien. Can't sleep either? She texted back. Come to my place. I'll make breakfast. It's 2 a.m. Then I'll make very early breakfast. Selena should have said no, should have maintained the distance they'd been so careful about. But she was tired and scared and didn't want to be alone. She got dressed and drove to his building, taking the private elevator up to the penthouse. Damien met her at the door in sweatpants and a t-shirt, looking more relaxed than she'd ever seen him. I can't believe you actually came, he said. I can't believe you're awake. I don't sleep much. Occupational hazard. He led her to the kitchen, which was larger than her entire apartment. Omelet? Pancakes? I make excellent pancakes. You cook? I do a lot of things people don't expect. He started pulling out ingredients. Sit, talk to me. Take your mind off tomorrow. Selena sat at the kitchen island and watched him work. He moved with the same efficiency he brought to everything else. Precise, controlled, no wasted motion. Within minutes, the smell of cooking butter and vanilla filled the air. Tell me something I don't know about you, Selena said. Damien glanced at her. Like what? Anything. Your childhood, your family, how you ended up running a company and doing whatever else it is you do. He flipped a pancake. My father ran a legitimate import business. My mother was a teacher. They wanted me to go to college, become a doctor or lawyer, live a safe, predictable life. He poured more batter onto the griddle. But I grew up watching my father get squeezed by competitors who didn't play by the rules. People who used intimidation and violence to get what they wanted. By the time I was 20, I'd learned a valuable lesson. The rules only protect you if everyone else follows them too. So you stopped following them? I learned to operate in the spaces between legal and illegal. I built relationships with people who could solve problems that courts and cops couldn't touch. And I built a business empire that looks completely legitimate on the surface while being supported by connections most people would rather not know about. He plated the pancakes and set them in front of her. Does that scare you? A little, Selena admitted, but not as much as it should, probably. Why not? Because you've been more honest with me than my own husband. Because you've never pretended to be something you're not. And because... She paused. Because I think maybe I've been living by other people's rules my whole life, and look where it got me. Damien sat down across from her with his own plate. Tomorrow is going to be hard. Marcus's lawyer is going to try to tear you apart. They'll ask about the apartment, about me, about every dinner and car ride and conversation. They'll try to make you look like the guilty party. I know. But you're going to walk in there and tell the truth. Clean, simple, undeniable. And then you're going to walk out with your dignity intact and your freedom guaranteed. He met her eyes. And I'm going to be there the entire time, making sure nothing touches you that doesn't have to. You can't be in the courtroom. I'll be outside, waiting. And the minute you're done, I'm taking you away from all of this. Somewhere quiet, somewhere you can breathe. Selena felt tears prick her eyes. Why are you doing this, really? Because you matter to me. Because watching you fight for yourself these past 2 months has been extraordinary. And because when this is over, I want you to choose me. Not because I helped you through the divorce, and not because I was there when you needed someone, but because you genuinely want to build something with me. He reached across the table and took her hand. So I'm going to make sure you have every reason to make that choice. They finished their pancakes in comfortable silence. As dawn started breaking over the city, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, Selina felt something settle in her chest. Not peace, exactly, but certainty. Whatever happened in that courtroom today, she was going to survive it. And on the other side, she was going to build something better than anything she'd lost. The courthouse was exactly as intimidating as Selina had imagined. Marble floors, high ceilings, the kind of institutional architecture designed to make people feel small. She walked through security with Patricia beside her, both of them dressed in their most professional armor. Selina's hands were steady, but her stomach was churning. "Remember," Patricia said as they approached the courtroom, "answer only what's asked. Don't elaborate, don't get emotional, just facts." "I know. And if Marcus's lawyer tries to provoke you, and he will, you stay calm. You've done nothing wrong. You have nothing to hide." The courtroom was smaller than Selina expected. Wooden benches, a judge's bench that loomed over everything, fluorescent lighting that made everyone look slightly gray. Marcus was already there with his lawyer, a sharp-faced man in an expensive suit who looked like he enjoyed making people squirm. Marcus wouldn't meet her eyes. Vanessa sat in the gallery, visibly pregnant now, her hands folded over her stomach. She looked miserable, and Selina felt a strange pang of pity. Whatever illusions Vanessa had started with were probably long gone by now. The judge entered, a woman in her 60s with steel gray hair and the kind of expression that suggested she'd seen every trick in the book and wasn't impressed by any of them. Everyone stood, then sat. The proceedings began. Marcus's lawyer went first, painting a picture of a devoted husband blindsided by his wife's sudden decision to leave. He was careful, Selina noticed. He didn't mention the affair with Vanessa directly, just alluded to difficulties in the marriage and communication breakdowns. He spent more time on Selina's relationship with Damien, implying impropriety without making direct accusations he couldn't prove. Then it was Patricia's turn. She was surgical. Bank statements showing Marcus's hidden transfers, receipts for jewelry Selina had never received, credit card statements from hotels Selina had never visited, and then the coup de grace. Phone records showing hundreds of calls and texts between Marcus and Vanessa dating back 14 months, long before Selina had any idea there was a problem. Marcus's face went red. His lawyer tried to object, claiming the evidence was prejudicial. The judge overruled him. "If your client didn't want his affair exposed in court," the judge said dryly, "perhaps he shouldn't have filed fraud charges and attempted to impugn Mrs. Vale's character. Continue, Ms. Voss." Patricia continued. By the time she finished, Marcus looked like he wanted to sink through the floor. His lawyer called him to testify, but it was a disaster. Marcus stumbled over explanations for the hidden accounts, got defensive about Vanessa, and finally admitted that yes, the affair had been going on for over a year. "But it wasn't serious," he said, as if that made it better. "It was just... it happened. And when Selina found out, she didn't even try to work through it. She just filed for divorce and started spending all her time with her boss." "Objection," Patricia said calmly. "Relevance." "Sustained," the judge said. "Mr. Vale, we're here to discuss the division of assets and allegations of fraud, not to litigate your feelings about your wife's professional relationships." When it was Selina's turn to testify, she walked to the stand with her head high. Patricia led her through the timeline: the Christmas dinner, the discovery of the affair, the decision to divorce. Selina kept her answers short and factual, exactly as Patricia had coached her. Then Marcus's lawyer stood up for cross-examination. "Mrs. Vale, you claim you had no idea about your husband's affair until December 20th. Is that correct?" "Yes. And yet you filed for divorce within days. No attempts at counseling, no efforts to save the marriage, just straight to lawyers and legal action. That seems rather hasty, doesn't it?" "I don't think discovering your husband has been lying to you for over a year and got another woman pregnant is the kind of thing that requires a trial period to process." A few people in the gallery laughed. The judge didn't, but Selina caught the slight twitch of her mouth. Marcus's lawyer frowned. "You've been living in an apartment owned by Damien Orloff, your employer, for the past 2 months. An apartment you're paying significantly below market rate for. Isn't that correct?" "I'm paying exactly market rate. The lease is documented." "But Mr. Orlov is your boss. Don't you think accepting housing from him creates an inappropriate dynamic?" "No more inappropriate than my husband sleeping with his coworker for over a year." Mrs. Vale, I accepted a legal rental agreement for a safe place to live while navigating my divorce. If you're implying something else, you should say it directly instead of dancing around it. Marcus's lawyer's jaw tightened. Have you engaged in a romantic or sexual relationship with Damien Orlov? No. Have you spent significant amounts of time alone with him outside of work? He's been supportive during a difficult period. We've had dinner a few times. He's driven me places when I needed a ride. That's what decent human beings do for people they care about. People they care about romantically? People they care about as human beings. Selena met his eyes. I know this is a difficult concept for you to grasp, but it's possible for a man to help a woman without expecting something in return. Mr. Orlov has been nothing but professional and respectful, unlike my husband, who apparently thought his wedding vows came with an expiration date. The judge intervened before Marcus's lawyer could respond. I think we've established the relevant facts here. Unless you have questions directly pertaining to the financial fraud allegations, counselor, let's move on. The rest of the trial blurred together. More witnesses, more evidence, more of Marcus's lawyer trying and failing to make Selena look like the guilty party. By the time they recessed for deliberation, Selena was exhausted. Patricia found her in the hallway. You did great, better than great. The judge sees exactly what's happening here. How long until we know? Could be an hour, could be 3. Divorce cases are usually pretty straightforward when the evidence is this clear. Patricia squeezed her shoulder. Go get some air. I'll text you when they're ready. Selena walked outside and found Damien waiting exactly where he said he'd be, leaning against his car in the courthouse parking lot, looking like he'd been there the entire time. How'd it go? He asked. I think okay. Patricia says we're in good shape. Selena leaned against the car next to him. Marcus's lawyer tried to make it about you and me. It didn't work. What did you say? The truth. That you've been supportive. That we haven't done anything inappropriate. That helping someone going through a divorce doesn't automatically mean you're sleeping with them. She looked at him. I might have also pointed out that it's possible for men and women to have relationships that aren't transactional. Damien smiled slightly. I bet his lawyer loved that. He looked like he wanted to object but couldn't figure out how. Selena closed her eyes and tilted her face toward the weak afternoon sun. I'm so tired of defending myself, of explaining my choices to people who've already decided I'm guilty. I just want this to be over. It will be. Soon. Damien was quiet for a moment. What are you going to do after? When the divorce is final and you're officially free? I don't know. I haven't let myself think that far ahead. Maybe you should start. Selena opened her eyes and turned to look at him. What are you saying? I'm saying you've spent the last 2 months fighting for your life. Once that fight is over, you're going to need something to fight for instead. Damien met her gaze. I'm hoping I might be part of that something. You want to talk about this now, in a courthouse parking lot? I want you to know that when this is done, you have options. You have a future that's yours to build however you want it. He reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, a gesture so casual and intimate it made Selena's breath catch. And I want to be part of that future, if you'll have me. Before Selena could respond, her phone buzzed. Patricia. They're ready. Come back. The deliberation had taken less than an hour. That was either very good or very bad. Selena and Damien walked back to the courthouse together, and she felt him squeeze her hand once before they separated at the courtroom doors. Inside, everyone was back in their places. The judge looked down at her notes, then up at the room. I've reviewed all the evidence and testimony presented today, she said, and I have to say, this is one of the more clear-cut cases I've seen in quite some time. Mr. Vale, you engaged in a lengthy extramarital affair, systematically hid marital assets, and then attempted to paint your wife as the unfaithful party when she quite reasonably decided to end the marriage. That's not just dishonest, it's fraudulent. Marcus's face was white. His lawyer looked resigned. The divorce is granted, the judge continued. Mrs. Vale is awarded 70% of all marital assets, including the hidden accounts Mr. Vale attempted to conceal. She is also awarded 18 months of alimony at a rate commensurate with her current standard of living. Mr. Vale will pay all court costs and legal fees for both parties. Patricia didn't smile, but Selena could feel the satisfaction radiating from her. Additionally, the judge said, I'm referring the matter of financial fraud to the district attorney's office for potential criminal prosecution. Mr. Vale, you may want to consult with a criminal defense attorney in the near future. She banged her gavel. We're adjourned. The courtroom erupted in quiet chaos. Marcus's lawyer was already on his phone, probably trying to do damage control. Marcus himself looked like he'd been hit by a truck. Vanessa was crying in the gallery, though whether from relief or stress or just hormones, Selena couldn't tell. Patricia grabbed Selena's arm. We won. We won everything. I heard. You don't look happy. I am. I think. I'm just... Selena shook her head. I'm tired. Can we do the celebration later? Of course. Go home. Rest. I'll handle the paperwork and get you copies of everything. Selena walked out of the courtroom in a daze. She'd won. The divorce was final. Marcus was facing potential criminal charges. She'd gotten more than she'd asked for, so why did she feel so hollow? Damien was waiting in the hallway. He took one look at her face and pulled her into his arms without asking. Selena let herself lean into him, breathing in the familiar scent of his cologne, feeling the solid warmth of him. Let's go, he said quietly. Somewhere you don't have to think about any of this for a while. He drove them out of the city, away from the courthouse, and the lawyers, and the weight of the past 2 months. They ended up at a small inn about an hour north, the kind of place that catered to people who wanted to disappear for a weekend. Damien had apparently called ahead because they were expected. How long have you been planning this? Selena asked as they walked to their room. Separate rooms, she noticed, because even now, Damien was being careful about appearances. Since the trial date was set, I figured you'd need somewhere to decompress regardless of how it went. He unlocked her door and handed her the key. Rest, shower, whatever you need. I'm right next door if you want company, or if you'd rather be alone, that's fine too. Selena looked at the room, comfortable, clean, anonymous, in the way hotel rooms always were. Then she looked at Damien. I don't want to be alone, she said. Something in his expression shifted. Then you won't be. They ordered room service and ate on the small balcony overlooking a garden that was brown and dormant for winter. The food was good, the wine better. Selena felt the tension slowly draining from her shoulders. I keep waiting to feel different, she admitted. The divorce is final. I won. Marcus is going to face consequences. But I don't feel like celebrating. I just feel empty. That's normal, Damien said. You've been running on adrenaline and anger for weeks. Now that the fight's over, you're left with the aftermath. It'll take time to figure out what comes next. What did come next for you? When you walked away from your father's business and started building your own empire? Honestly, I was terrified. I had no idea if any of it would work. I just knew I couldn't keep living by someone else's rules. He swirled the wine in his glass. Turned out the fear was useful, kept me sharp, kept me from getting comfortable. Are you comfortable now? No, but I'm successful, and I'm in control of my own life. That's worth more than comfort. Selena set down her glass. I need to tell you something. Okay. When I was testifying today, Marcus's lawyer asked if I had feelings for you, if we were having an affair. And I said no, because technically we're not. But that answer felt like a lie. She met his eyes. Because I do have feelings for you. I have for a while now. And I don't know what to do with that. Damien was very still. What do you want to do with it? I want to stop pretending. I want to stop being careful about how things look or what people will think. I want to just be honest about what I want. Selena stood up and walked to where he was sitting. What I want is you. Not because you helped me through the divorce, not because you were there when I needed someone, but because you're the first person in years who made me feel like I mattered, like I was worth paying attention to. Damien reached out and pulled her onto his lap, one hand cupping her face. You matter. You've always mattered, and I've been trying very hard not to rush you into anything before you were ready. I'm ready now. He kissed her then, deep and intense and nothing like that first kiss in his car. This was a promise, a beginning, the start of something that didn't have to be careful anymore. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Damien rested his forehead against hers. We should probably slow down, he said, though his hands stayed exactly where they were. Probably, Selena agreed, but I don't want to. Neither do I. He stood up, lifting her with him in one smooth motion. Your room or mine? I don't care. Closest one. They made it to his room, barely. And for the first time in months, Selena felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. The next 3 months passed in a blur of reconstruction. Selena moved out of the apartment Damien owned and into a place that was entirely hers. A loft downtown with exposed brick and huge windows and rent she could actually afford on her salary. The divorce settlement gave her breathing room, but she didn't want to rely on Marcus's money. She wanted to build something independent. Damien was careful about their relationship at work. They maintained professional boundaries in the office, separate meetings, no obvious favoritism. But after hours was different. Dinners, weekends, late-night conversations that stretched until dawn. Selena learned the parts of him he didn't show anyone else. The sharp intelligence, the dry humor, the fierce protectiveness that extended to the people he cared about. She also learned about his other business. The connections he maintained, the problems he solved in ways that didn't involve courts or lawyers. It should have bothered her more than it did, but she'd spent her whole life following rules that hadn't protected her from anything, and watching Damien operate in the spaces between legal and illegal felt like watching someone who'd figured out how to actually control their own destiny. Marcus disappeared from public view after the trial. Patricia heard through the legal grapevine that he'd taken a plea deal on the fraud charges: probation, restitution, community service. Vanessa had the baby, a girl. They got married in a small ceremony with no announcement. Selena saw the wedding photo on social media and felt nothing except mild curiosity about whether they'd actually make it work. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, Damien took Selena to dinner at the most expensive restaurant in the city. She wore a dress she'd bought specifically for the occasion, emerald green, fitted, the kind of thing the old Selena would have been too cautious to choose. "You look extraordinary," Damien said when he picked her up. "I feel extraordinary, that's new." The restaurant was everything she'd expected. Dim lighting, impeccable service, food that was probably technically edible but mostly seemed designed to look impressive on Instagram. They ordered wine and appetizers and settled into the comfortable rhythm they'd developed over months of nights like this. "I have something for you," Damien said after their entrees arrived. "If it's jewelry, I'm going to be annoyed. We talked about this." "It's not jewelry." He pulled an envelope from his jacket pocket and set it on the table. "Open it." Inside was a letter. Selena scanned the first few lines and looked up in confusion. "This is an offer letter for Director of Strategic Operations at Orloff Industries." "It is." "Damien, we can't. If I take a promotion from you while we're together, people will talk. They'll say I slept my way into the position. Let them talk. You've been doing the work of a director for 3 years while being paid as an assistant. This isn't a gift. It's recognizing what you've already earned." Damien leaned forward. "I had HR conduct a full review of your performance independently. Every metric they looked at supported the promotion. Your work speaks for itself." Selena stared at the letter. Director. A title. Real authority. The kind of position she'd dreamed about but never quite believed she deserved. "Why now?" she asked. "Because you're ready. Because you've proven yourself 100 times over. And because I'm tired of watching you downplay your own competence." He paused. "Also because I'm planning to step back from day-to-day operations over the next year, and I need someone I trust running things." "Step back? To do what?" "To focus on other projects. Things that require my attention, but don't fit neatly into corporate structure." Damien's expression was carefully neutral. "I'm building something new. A foundation that helps people who fall through the cracks of traditional support systems. Women leaving abusive marriages. People being squeezed by predatory lenders, immigrants facing deportation, the kind of situations where the legal system fails and people need alternative solutions." Selena set down her fork. "You're going to use your connections to help people. I'm going to use my connections to solve problems that courts can't or won't touch. And I want you involved, not running it. I need you at Orlov Industries for that to work, but helping me build the structure, using your strategic mind to figure out how to do this effectively." "That's ambitious. I know, but I've spent years operating in the shadows helping people who could pay for it. I'd like to spend the next few years helping people who can't." He reached across the table and took her hand. "You showed me something these past months. You showed me what it looks like to fight for yourself, even when everything is stacked against you. And I realized I want to give other people that same chance." Selena felt tears prick her eyes. "When did you become such an idealist?" When I watched you refuse to let a man who betrayed you define your worth, it was inspiring, honestly. She laughed, slightly watery. So I take the promotion, you build your foundation, and we both become better people. Is that the plan? That's the plan. What do you think? Selena looked at the offer letter, then at Damien, then at the life she'd somehow managed to build from the wreckage of her marriage. 6 months ago, she'd been sitting alone at a Christmas dinner, making excuses for a husband who wasn't coming. Now she was being offered everything she'd worked for, with someone who actually saw her. I think I spent a long time believing I had to earn love by being perfect, by following rules and meeting expectations and never asking for too much. She squeezed his hand. And then I met you. And you showed me that the people worth having in your life don't need you to be perfect. They just need you to be honest. Is that a yes to the promotion? It's a yes to everything. The promotion, the foundation, this, us. She smiled. All of it. Damien raised his wine glass. To new beginnings. To finally getting what we deserve. They clinked glasses, and Selena felt something settle in her chest that she hadn't felt in years. Not happiness, exactly. Something deeper and more solid than that. Certainty. The bone-deep knowledge that she was exactly where she was supposed to be, with someone who would never make her invisible. A year after the Christmas dinner that changed everything, Selena stood in the conference room of Orlov Industries and looked out at the city spread below. It was late December again. The holiday party was happening on the floor below, and this time she wasn't waiting for anyone who wasn't coming. Damien appeared in the doorway, holding 2 glasses of champagne. "You're missing your own party," he said. "Our party. I'm a director now. Half of this is my responsibility." "True." He handed her a glass and stood beside her at the window. "What are you thinking about?" "A year ago, I was in a marriage that was killing me slowly, and I didn't even know it. I was making excuses for someone who didn't value me. I was small and scared, and convinced that asking for more was selfish." Selena took a sip of champagne. "Now I'm running strategic operations for a multi-million-dollar company, helping you build a foundation that's going to actually change lives. And I'm with someone who makes me feel powerful instead of small. It's been a strange year." "Strange good or strange bad?" "Strange good. Definitely strange good." She turned to face him. "Thank you. For seeing me when I couldn't see myself. For helping me fight when I wanted to give up. For showing me what it looks like to be with someone who's actually on your side. You did the hard work yourself. I just made sure you had what you needed to do it." "That's not nothing. That's everything." Damien set down his glass and pulled her close. "I love you. I don't think I've said that clearly enough. But I do. I love your intelligence and your strength and the way you refuse to back down when something matters to you. I love that you've turned yourself into exactly who you were always supposed to be." "I love you too." Selena kissed him softly. "Even though you're secretly a romantic pretending to be a pragmatist. That stays between us, obviously." They stood there at the window, looking out at the city lights, and Selena thought about the journey that had brought her here. The pain of betrayal, the terror of starting over, the slow, difficult work of rebuilding a life from nothing, and the unexpected gift of finding someone who wanted to build something with her instead of just watching her struggle alone. She'd learned something important over the past year. That strength wasn't about never breaking. It was about breaking and choosing to rebuild yourself better than before. That love wasn't about finding someone perfect. It was about finding someone who saw your flaws and wanted you anyway. That power wasn't something you took from other people. It was something you claimed for yourself and used to make space for others to do the same. Marcus had tried to destroy her. Instead, he'd freed her to become someone she never could have been while trying to be the perfect wife. Vanessa had helped him do it. And in the wreckage of that betrayal, Selena had found Damien, not as a rescue, but as a partner who met her exactly where she was and helped her become who she wanted to be. The foundation was already making a difference. 3 women out of abusive marriages, 2 families saved from predatory lenders, 1 teenager who'd been facing deportation now safely in college on a scholarship they'd quietly arranged. Small victories, but real ones. The kind that reminded Selena why the fight had been worth it. Downstairs, the party was in full swing. Their colleagues were laughing, drinking, celebrating the end of another successful year. Selena and Damien should probably join them, make appearances, play their roles as director and CEO. But for now, they stayed at the window, watching the city and holding each other. and Selena felt grateful for the woman she'd become. The scared, invisible wife who'd sat alone at that Christmas dinner was gone. In her place was someone stronger, sharper, more certain of her own worth. Someone who'd learned that the best revenge wasn't destroying the person who hurt you. It was building a life so good they couldn't touch it, no matter how hard they tried. Someone who'd discovered that love wasn't about sacrifice and compromise and making yourself small. It was about finding someone who wanted you to be as big and powerful and difficult as you actually were. Someone who'd realized that rules were just suggestions, and the only person who could define your worth was you. "Ready to go back down?" Damien asked eventually. "In a minute," Selena leaned into him. "I just want to stand here for a moment and remember how far I've come." We've come, she agreed. And standing there in that conference room, with the man who'd helped her find herself and the city that had tested her and broken her and ultimately made her stronger, Selena finally understood what freedom felt like. Not the absence of problems, not perfect happiness, just the solid, unshakable certainty that whatever came next, she could handle it. Because she'd already survived the worst thing that could happen to her. And she'd come out the other side not just intact, but transformed. That was worth celebrating. So they finished their champagne, straightened their clothes, and headed back down to the party together. Not hiding, not pretending, just two people who'd found each other in the wreckage and built something worth keeping. And if anyone had a problem with that, they could take it up with Selena's lawyer. She had an excellent one,